All right, so I think I understand this, but I'm going to ask as a courtesy, but I'm going to move faster now. Summarize for me the current business, and then summarize for me what you think your question is so I'm really clear on it. And I'm going to munch on this while you're doing it. Okay. What's your business right now? Exactly. No, I just want to make sure because they translate everything. And if I, as you saw on this last one, if we accidentally think the wrong thing, then we go off on the wrong and then we can't give good advice. So tell me exactly the business you're in, exactly the problem or question, first the big question, and then we'll get into it that you want me to answer. I think I understand it, but I don't want to make a mistake here. Go ahead.
So my question is, how do I expand my sales? And I want to know how to expand my sales. The business is a cleaning business, and we have mats and mops, and we rent them out, and we also sell them. We also actually offer cleaning services ourselves. We are a franchisee or a franchisor. And we offer rental and other services, sales services. And rental services is about 80% of our business. And pest control and such is about 20% of the business. But the thing is, we have a lot of restrictions from the franchisor. So there are a lot of things that we can't do. So I want to know how we can get around those. And the thing is, there are things that we can only, there are restrictions on the products and services.
Ask a bunch of questions as you are answering. If I stop you, don't get mad. It means I think I understand. So start by telling me quickly the kind of things you cannot do.
First of all, we're not allowed to provide. Well, at the moment we go to our clients' places, homes once 2 weeks or once 4 weeks, and we're not allowed to use products and mops and such from other companies.
With their branded product or their authorized product.
That's right, and we have about 5,000 clients right now, and there are a lot of various industries. So we have to look at local. When we're distributing flyers, there are a lot of restrictions in terms of what kind of flyers we can distribute and such.
Now, do they give you the ability to submit to them different copy that they will approve that is, like if you create something new, can you send it to them and say, will you approve this for us to use? Or are they real rigid?
We have to check with the headquarters first.
They're open-minded to change or not?
It depends on the situation. It depends on what I want to do.
So right now, your question though is how do you grow the business, right?
Yes.
Is most of the business serving residential homes or is it serving commercial properties? Thank you. Well, great, thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah, go ahead.
It's about 50-50. So I serve about 5,000 households and 1,000 kind of industrial commercial facilities.
How have you secured and sourced those 6,000 accounts? You got 6,000 accounts. 1 second.
Hi.
Yep.
Yes.
How did you get them?
My father signed the contract, so I'm the son, and I took over.
So to speak? Or did you build them? It doesn't matter to me. I'm just trying to...
Yes, yes.
So let me tell you a really great way. Well, by the way, what's the average account? If it's a residential, how much do they pay a month or a week? If it's an office, and I know they're large, small, but tell me what the average would be.
Most of my sales comes from rental services of mops and maps. For households, it's about 1,000 yen. Commercial facilities, it's about 3,000 yen.
Okay. So if your franchisor will let you, are you all over Japan, just Tokyo? Where are you?
I'm from Okayama Prefecture, but the headquarters is in Osaka, and they're nationwide.
Of your company or of the franchisor?
So the franchisor is nationwide, but this man in particular, he only has his office in Okayama Prefecture.
And so is that the market you serve, is Yokohama, or are you all over? I'm just trying, because my recommendations will depend on how geographically limited or expansive your marketing area is.
So my office, I can only sell and rent in Okayama Prefecture.
All right. Okay. So depending, and your first question is how can you expand the business profitably, right? I think that's what you want to know.
Hi.
Yes.
Okay. So let me swallow my chocolate. Excuse me. You may have one more of these, whoever's doing it. So, okay. Depending on your cost to deliver any new first-time service, you can go to a lot of different non-competitive organizations and have them refer their clients and their members to you in a formalized way. And a formalized way means you don't just say, hey, if you tell somebody, I'll give you $10. You say, let us create for you either offerings you make to your list or signs we put in your store or not offerings, but promotions your delivery people do for ours when they're in the home. And you create a bunch of different ways that you can take ethical advantage of all the access that all kinds of other companies have with the people who represent the profile of your kind of a client, size, home, prosperity, and you give them in exchange some fair portion of the initial first-time revenue that comes. Let me give you an example. Say that I am the hairdresser. Say that I am the dress shop. Say that I am the delivery water person. Say that I am doesn't matter. You work to them and say, let us create for you promotional offerings that are approved by our corporate franchisor, but that where you endorse them. Some can be offers that are written. Some can be just teaching your people to offer our services when they have interaction with your clients. Some can be specific seasonal purposes, because I'm sure they're seasonal. And you give them, if every time you get a new client, you know that client should stay with you for a certain amount of time. And I used to be in the mat and the mop rental business, so I know that kind of business can be seasonal and some are not seasonal. But you look at the different kinds of clients and the different kinds of services you provide for those clients, and then you do what I have suggested in the previous days. You say, who already has those people as their clients and are dealing with them with regularity? And then you say, how are they dealing with them? That can mean the client comes to them, they come to the client. It can mean the client ships something out. And then you just say, okay, how can I communicate through their distribution channel to their client an offer that's most appropriate from us? And when I say most appropriate, it means rather than just say, let us do your cleaning, there may be a certain type of a business or a service company that has clients that are perfect for one service you do. There may be another one that are perfect for another service, and you want to turn them all into highly directed, I guess for lack of a better word, client referral generating machines for you. And in order to do that, you want to develop what I'll call turnkey marketing. Turnkey marketing means you create the entire process for them. Give me an example of what would be a high-end, a premium residential type of a client. What would the services they would be doing and using of yours be? What would it be like? One of the so I know, so I can give you an easy, tangible example. What would an example of a higher end client in residential? What would they use you for?
一番高い
The highest. The highest fee we take for cleaning. So, for example, in terms of leasing mops and mats and so on, if they additionally ask for cleaning services or pest control services, that's the highest, that's the most expensive because it...
How many times a week would you clean a premium type of a residence, a high-end residence? Would you clean them once a week, once a day? How often?
一般家庭の場合
For normal households, cleaning would be, well, twice or 3 times a year at most.
Oh, really? So it's a major cleaning, right?
大掃除もしくは
Yes, or for example, just the kitchen or just the bathroom or something.
Okay, so that's good so let's look at that household and say, what other service providers do they use with regularity or seasonality that would be perfect relational capital providers for you? So maybe if they have a home, a physical home, with a yard, maybe they have gardener or landscapers who could be a source for you. If they have delivery of anything, the people who deliver to them. If they have any kind of regular repair come, it could be that. If it could be carpet cleanings, if you don't do do you do carpet cleaning?
Yes.
Okay, then obviously you'd be competitive. It's whatever you don't do, first of all. Number two, you could actually go to people who do one of the many things you do, but only one. For example, if they use a carpet cleaner, but the carpet cleaner only does carpet cleaning, you could go to that carpet cleaner and say, look, we do carpet cleaning, but we will agree in writing that if you refer clients to us, we will share, we'll give you a profit share, but we will never do carpet cleaning for them unless you ever stop and don't want to. Because a carpet cleaner only does carpet cleaning. Even if you do carpet cleaning, you also do house cleaning, you also do wall cleaning, you also do all these other things. So you could go to non-competitive sources that already have the trust of that homeowner, but you can also go to limited competitive ones. Does that make sense?
Yes, I understand.
Okay, that's one thing. Second, you can go to sources they trust to do business. Again, and I used it yesterday. If the housewife is the decision maker and she goes to a hairstylist or she goes to a shoe store or a dress store, you could make those great referral sources. And here's a great idea that might be very interesting. You could go to the owner of the hair salons. You could go to the owner of the health clubs. You could go to the owners of all these places and say, we have a very let's see, I want to use the right word. I'm going to use the right language. We have a very provocative proposition. We would like to pay to clean your house. It's a $500 service, but we'll do it for you at our cost. We'll buy you that service. Why are we doing that? Because we know once you experience how wonderful our people are, our cleaners, our housekeepers, you're going to love it, and you're going to want to tell everyone all the time about it at your hair salon. And you're going to let us put signage up, and they're going to ask about it, and you're going to be there telling them how great it is, and we're going to be able to put a sign up that you are one of our clients, and that's going to be great. And you use that kind of a strategy as one of your major low-cost, high-yield referral sources. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But you do more. You do more. You take each one of your separate services and you see who else has anything remotely related to it. For example, you rent mats, you do house cleaning, you do termite, and is termite a big part of your business, or pest control?
It's about 10% of our overall business.
Profitable, isn't it?
Yes, it is. About 90% or so.
I think it would be. So, okay. So if there is, you do the same thing. If there is like a seasonal time for roaches or ants or or anything like that, you also go to key people in the community, and if they are, I mean, let's say that there's outbreaks, like in our home, there's times in our neighborhood, there are times of the year where ants are terrible. There are times of the year where mice are terrible. There are times of the year when it's very cold where you get tree rats, and they're pretty big. And everybody has them. So if there was a big house in the neighborhood and they knew that, and everyone knows that there's tree rats or whatever, and they weren't a client, you could almost go to them and say, we will service your house gratis as long as we can put a sign in your front yard. And people do that as well. I mean, just, you got to use you want to use influence. Another thing you can do, and I'm trying to think of what would be a great source for you for your regular cleaning. For offices, all you have to do is think of anybody who sells office management, non-cleaning stuff. We've had a lot of people in the office maintenance field, and what they do is they find other people who sell services to the office. Maybe they sell external building maintenance, keeping the parking lot clean, people who resurface parking lots, security companies that patrol the car parking lots. Anybody who already has the trust of the building management but is not competitive. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
And you can make this enormous list, and all you have to do is figure out, again, subject to the approval of your franchisor, but all you're really asking people to do who would endorse you or partner with you is tell people about your products or services and be compensated in a way that is a share of the revenue or an initial payment after a contract is signed. But if you can, and now, do you run the business? Do you run the business yourself? Are you the manager of it?
Yes, right now I am.
And do you have salespeople?
10人ぐらい
Yes, about 10.
And how are they paid, and what do they do, and how many new accounts do they generate for you every month?
We have full-time staff and also part-time staff. We have a fixed fee, but also a commission for performance-based commission. So that's what we pay.
A lot of clients for you?
現状は
Right
now, not really.
So what I suggest always is this. If you might be better off, when you start looking at this concept that we've talked about, a lot, marginal net worth, lifetime value of a client. You might be better off bringing on some very, very high performance people who strictly get paid on performance, but who get like all of the first sale or all of the first two if it's highly repetitive, but they get paid as it's received because you receive all the remaining sales, and you create some very innovative compensation that super motivates and rewards people for higher achievement. And that's another thing you can do. If you look at your 10 salespeople, the question, remember I was talking the day before about looking at I talked to you also about the massage people. Who sells best what kind of services? Who sells best what kind of people? Who sells best what kind of businesses, and find out what they do differently, and I'll tell you why. Sometimes you'll find that one person is great at selling businesses, but you've got them maybe in a territory. And in that territory are homeowners and little retailers, and it's a waste of their ability. You'll also find that if somebody is 2 or 3 times better than everybody else at selling either a kind of a service or a type of a prospect, you want to find out what do they do different that you can either teach your other salespeople, or you can fire your other salespeople and teach new salespeople, because you want to maximize the opportunity. And I told you the other day about KPIs, key performance indicators, and measuring and monitoring. If you don't set for yourself and your business performance expectations that your salespeople have to do by the week, by the different kind of services, by the different kinds of products, or then you'll never be able to grow past that. So you have to be ruthless about setting those kind. You got to say, okay, your job is to, and if you can't get that done, you've got to reverse engineer. You've got to know how many prospective calls do they have to make to get one sale. And then you got to know that they have enough prospective calls. And you got to know on Monday morning what they're going to do and why. Because if they don't have, I'll give you one more example and then I'm going to have to stop. But this is pretty cool. So I had a client in Mexico, and I was telling you guys about it. And they had 2,000 salespeople. And the salespeople were all over the place. Some were great, some were terrible. And I needed to figure out what in the hell was happening. They were selling homes, houses. And the first thing I did was I got them to identify the highest performers and the worst performers. And I brought them both in separately. And I interviewed them. And I wanted to know 3 things: where they spent their time, how they organized their day, why they did what they did. So the bad performers would, first of all, come into the office every day and spend 2 or 3 hours trying to figure out what they were going to do. And because most people aren't trained as sales managers, you're not trained as a sales manager, so you probably don't really pay a lot of attention to how well or how poorly they use their time. So the ones that didn't do well, first of all, didn't know what they were going to do every day. Then, when they finally got out of the office, they would usually go to a bus stop, or they would go to a shopping center, or they would go to a car park lot and put flyers out trying to find prospects. And I asked them how often they had done that, and their answer was most of the time. And I asked them how often it had worked, and their answer was almost never. And I wondered why they kept doing it, but they kept doing it. Secondly, the ones that were great knew exactly how they were going to spend all their time. They only went to the places that had the highest probability of good prospects. They really knew what they were going to do with their time. They knew what they were going to do with their effort. And if you've got 10 people you're paying, you have an obligation to yourself to make them more productive. You should also get them trained in consultative selling. But now the last thing I'll tell you to do, you have 6,000 clients. You should take some of those salespeople who are not selling very well and teach them how to get on the phone or visit all your existing clients, and very appropriately ask each client to recommend 3 other people or 3 other businesses who they think would appreciate your services, and ask them if they would either call those people or allow you to call them in their behalf. Because if 3 people, if 6,000 clients recommended 3 people to you, now you have 18,000 recommendations. Doesn't that get exciting?
Yes, that's extremely exciting.
Stop, but does this help you?
Yes, yes, it was very, very useful. So I need to make my clients refer more people to me, and also convey passion to them. And I think I'd like to put this into use.
Remember this. When you look at all the services that you sell, they are not all equal. Some services, as you just said, are 3 times a year. Some services are seasonal, pest control. Some services are continuous. Different services have different values to you. They have more profit or less profit. So you can compensate partners more or less depending on the service. Does that make sense? So if I get you a pest control client, that might be worth $400 to you. But if I get you a $10 rental of a mat, that might only be worth, well, that may be worth $500 to you, but it might be more profit or less profit. So you, like, if tomorrow morning I got you a $10 mat rental, but they rented that mat every week for a year, that's $520, right? Probably a lot of profit on that, isn't it?
Yes.
On a $10 sale, first sale, if you know that 80% or 70% of the clients are going to keep you doing it, you might go to somebody and say, I'll tell you what, every time you bring me or you help me get a $10 first time sale, I'll give you $50. The only negative is I'll pay you that $50 over 5 months, or over 5 transactions as it's paid to me. But you can do all kinds of creative things you've never thought about, and I doubt if your franchisor is going to worry about that. It's just using really inventive and disruptive thinking about the compensation. And you can do that when you realize how much value those different new kinds of clients can bring you long term, and how many other organizations and businesses already have access to them. But then go back separately and realize if you have 6,000 satisfied clients, you probably have 18,000 great referrals you could generate if you just went and asked an intelligently worded referral generating proposition to them. Now, last thing, if you took my home study or you came to my old seminar, I believe in the workbook we had 93 different referral generating strategies. If we did, and I am right, and you went and took it, and you still have your workbook, go look that up, because they can make you a fortune. And I have to stop, but I hope this is good.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay. Whoops. My ear falls off. Thank you. Whoops, take a picture. Rapidly, and I'll probably be able to go faster and faster. How are you? It's my pleasure. You look lovely.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And you obviously speak a little English? A little bit? Okay, so let me look for a minute so I see what you do. Okay, all right. So I'm going to ask you, because this tells me you are a very gifted, talented person, who is trying to figure out some answers. So I need you to help me help you, okay? So I'm going to ask you this. Tell me, I'm going to do this backwards. Give me your big question first, and then try to explain to me your current business, because it's a little bit confusing. So I'm going to start with the question instead of the business, because I can figure it out, I think, a little better doing it backwards. What's the key question you really want me to answer for you?
So from me, I should ask question.
You have a big question here, I think. I know you're confused. Try to ask me the question first, and then tell me what currently you think your business is, because there's a lot of things expressed, and it's a little bit hard to get my hands around. So if I know what your question is first, then I can think about it in relationship to what all the different things you're doing. Okay?
So actually, it took my courage to ask you this question, and that is because I was in confusion. I understand that I am confused, and each business opportunity, I also wanted to ask you some marketing strategy. That was my original thinking. However, over the past 3 days, I questioned even myself, like, why I'm doing this? Why I am born to this world? Like, I am now at this very fundamental question. My career started out as a fashionable designer, and then I linearly built my career, and then I had my own business. And I was planning to ask you questions about that business. However, before that, in order for me to move forward my direction of my life, each business opportunity, if I do it one by one, I will not be able to make it all the way to my destination of my life. I don't know whether I am saying this, I'm a little bit being indecisive of what to share with you, but what I really want to do ultimately is, when I asked myself, like, what do I really want to do? Ultimately, over the past 3 days, like, what do I really want to do? And I just remembered, rather than I understood. And what I really wanted to do is, for example, beauty. I wanted to do this beauty business. And if I have a capital, once I have enough capital, I wanted to acquire the pedal-driven sewing machines for commercial use. And then I wanted to create the guild in the developing countries, and then give those sewing machines to the women in developing countries so that they can stand on their feet. I wanted to assist them. It's not the volunteer work. As a business, I wanted to help them. And then those women in the developing countries can become independent business owners, and then they can protect themselves from the rape or the violence, and they can escape from that horrific reality. So therefore, as a business, I wanted to help them. That is the strong feeling that I have. I thought that I had that, but I forgot about it. And then because of the 3-day session that I went through, I was reminded of that cause that I had. Half of the planet is filled with the women like me, and once they have their own power, the world can change. And gradually, by doing such a thing, if I can do business that can help transform the world, and I just remember that I had such a dream. And I have a desire that I want to get there, but I also have just a mere worker who I am right now. And there is this huge gap between who I am and then my dream. So I don't know what I need to do.
Okay, let's start. Okay, no problem. But we'll help you. So start by telling me right this moment, before you came to those 3 days, what did you do for a living? What was your business? What do you, most of the time, what do you do right now? Not what you want to do, but what have you been doing?
Well, when I got divorced, I started my own business because of my age. I realized I just had to start my own business rather than working for someone. And order-made manufacturers, I had the strong connections with those order-made manufacturers. So therefore, I built the business around their connections, my connection with them. But that was not enough for me to make a living, or I couldn't make figures. And I started an internet business. And so I created an online shop. So just to support myself, I'm doing okay.
Designs or other people's online?
Well, yes, initially I did. I designed my own, I created what I wanted to create. And so I forgot about the customer's perspective, and they didn't sell well. And then I went back to the customer's perspective, and I realized that what I was creating was not good. So I started, I sourced from the Chinese manufacturers.
And did that sell?
Yes.
Do you have a successful online retail store?
No. Well, it's hard. It's not so lucrative. So it's almost like a rat race. I'm just barely making a living.
So, okay, let me ask you this. Let's start with this. Here's your long-term purpose: helping women be empowered. So, and there's a lot of vehicles. There are a lot of commercially meaningful ways you can do that. But let's put that here for a minute. But right here. So let's isolate for a minute your skill set. You understand fashion, right?
Yes.
You understand you have sources of manufacturing and distribution?
Yes.
B2B は今はやっていませんでした。直接 B2C。
No B2B, but the B2C. So no wholesalers, but the B2C, yes, I do.
Does that mean retailers? Or does that mean, which one are we talking about? She has very good access to retail distribution or no distribution?
それは本当に今。
Well, to the retailers, I was about to start. So therefore, what I had is that the distribution to the consumers, so that the retailers would ask me to design, but that's new thing.
How many buyers do you have on your email list?
Well, for B2B, I was about to start, so I was still in the planning phase. So therefore, I only have regular consumers. Those are the end users or the actual purchasers. So I had some couple troubles, and the last year, for the past 6 months or the latter half of last year, there were some problems and no income was generated. And for the first 6 months, I had 1,800 customers who purchased the products from my online shop. And mailing list, approximately the same. So because those who purchased have the mailing list, because I don't have any other mailing list other than those who purchased from our online shop.
Ask you this. Of all the skill sets you possess, hard, not, what's the one thing above everything else that you think you're the very best at?
Writing
Writing sentences?
おそらく。
I think maybe
Be
コピー
descriptive of is that what? No.
私のファン
my people who become my fans, they read my blogs and they become fan, or they read my books and they become fans.
So stop. Let's see if there is a way temporarily that you could start by using your skill in the fields that you're talented to help others be more successful and give them a greater voice. So right now, I bet if we looked all over Japan online, we would see a lot of people with a lot of online retail stores who don't do as well as they could. And I bet a lot of them have large or small email lists, and a lot of them have large or small buyer lists, but they probably don't have good marketing, and they probably have bad, as you say, voice, persona, a style of writing. If you went to a bunch of them and you made an offer and said, I'll tell you what, I can grow your business with you. I will give you a voice. I will write the voice. I will help you understand how to communicate better with your market. I will take your existing business and we will grow it through your resources, and we will share, and then you negotiate 50-50, 40-60, but you don't do it with one, you do it with 10. Now let me tell you a story. It's a very true story, and it seems very, very appropriate for you. 30 years ago, I was teaching people how they could become performance-based marketing consultants. And I had a man that came to my program who had been the head of catalog marketing for a large company that sold electronic products online. Excuse me, direct mail. He hated his company. He hated what he was doing, but he knew that very well. And he wanted to quit. And so he needed a strategy. And the strategy I gave him was, I'll bet there are 20, 30, 500 smaller catalog companies out there that don't have good marketing, good management, good copywriting, a good, I'm going to say, personality. There's no persona or voice. And I said, go to them, have them give you either a very modest fixed fee plus a share of the revenue you get them by growing what they've already built. And he got 10 of them, and he made himself over $1 million a year. He never had to manage any of them. All he had to do was do what he was great at. And he was able to do it by leveraging or improving 10 different companies. If you could find 10, not one, but 10, you'll say, I'll give you a voice, I'll give you a voice, and then you can exercise your creativity, your design ability, your sense of the buyer, the female market, whatever point. You can take clothing, jewelry, people who are there selling their own stuff, and you can be their catalyst. You can be the person, because most people have no voice. I mean, I know exactly what you mean, because the first thing I do when I work with a client is I say, you don't stand for anything. You got no voice, you got no message, you got nothing people excited about. In the workbook from the 3-day, I didn't get to it, but there's a whole section called the Maven Marketing. And it's talking about how to become iconic. You know what iconic means? An icon. How to distinguish yourself. You're probably an icon to the people that read your blog. But you could create that. I've done that for hundreds of people. I have been behind the scenes the voice for them. I have been the strategist for them. I have been the visionary for them. But I haven't had to worry about all the things that I didn't want to worry about. I didn't have to worry about their technology. I didn't have to worry about their staff. I didn't have to worry about the capital and the payroll. I just could worry about growing what they already had. If you stopped worrying about trying to break even and get stressed, but instead you say, okay, I'm going to keep this, but I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to find 10 fashion or design or women-based websites who are not living up to their potential because they don't have what I do have. They don't have the feel, the pulse, the sense of style. They don't have the edgy ability to communicate and engage. They don't even know how to buy right, and I know all that. So if they're doing $100,000 and I can get them to $800,000 and there's another $300,000 and I make half of that, and I find another one that's doing jewelry and it's boring, and I can help them first of all buy better because I can guide them, and I can help them describe better because I know how to romance creativity, and I bet you do. You can probably explain it and dimensionalize it and make it come alive emotionally. And that, I bet, is what you would do wonderfully, and it would exercise what I can see is your diverse creativity because you're not doing the same thing every day. This might be the jewelry day. This might be the clothing day. This might be the the hair product day. This might be the shoe day. And all you have to do, you can get started right now. Go home, go to your hotel, and start looking. Take any category of fashion that you want, clothing, style, and just look at all the websites and find ones that are not high rated but aren't terrible, because there are probably hundreds that are struggling, but they already have resources. And if you stop worrying about your resources, and all you have to do is channel your creativity into helping them, but you also remember what you've learned from me, so you add to it better marketing, better strategy, better connections, and you're diversified, but you're not diffused. There's a difference between being diffused and being diversified. I suspect, and I have been divorced many times, unfortunately, and I have known a lot of women who are divorced. You get divorced, and it can be a very difficult time, and you try to figure it all out, and getting started, and you can get very diffused. I'm not saying get diffused. Get diversified. That means don't just do things. Start by saying, okay, let me see everything that's out there that I might be able to make a huge impact on. Let me not decide on anything yet. Let me find 300 of them. So if I look at 300, then I can see the differences. And by the way, somebody told me something really incredible years ago, and it made an impact on me. It was a man that taught investors how to buy homes that they would then rent individually to people. And he made a point. He said, once you get excited about owning rental real estate, the worst thing to do is go out and buy a house right away to rent. He said, don't buy a house until you've looked at 100. Because in the beginning you're so excited you want to do anything with anybody, which is maybe a bad decision. So he said, if you look at 100 houses for sale, you'll see better opportunities, better rates, better terms, better remodeling potential. Well, the same with you. Don't just try to do 10 deals. Look at maybe 100, and then you'll see, and then get clear on what you can bring to them, because when you're trying to add value, I was telling somebody on the questions yesterday, success is a function of factors and forces that you can harness. Somebody might have a website, but if they have no traffic, then that's not somebody you want to help because it's too hard. You want somebody that maybe has 20,000 email people but doesn't know how to sell them. You want somebody that has a lot of visitors but doesn't know what to do with them. You want somebody that sells somebody one time and doesn't know how to... You want somebody who maybe has one good product but doesn't know how to even source other ones. But you want somebody who's already got momentum and some velocity. And by velocity, I mean there's forward stuff happening. So you can capitalize on it for them and with them. And I think if you do that, first thing is do that for about a year. If you do it right and you pick very carefully, all 10 won't work well. But if you pick 10, I don't know whether you need to make 100,000 or 500, but you'll make good money. And the money will start earning for you more, won't be passive, but you won't have to do things every day because you'll be focused on big impact issues, writing their blogs or describing and dimensionalizing their items. Like we have in the United States a company called Trader Joe's, and it's a store that sells very unusual foodstuffs. But they sell it because they send out catalogs where they romance. They'll say, we had to travel, around the world, and we went to this little town, in Bolivia where the farmers are 100th generation. They tell the story, and by the time you're done, you can't wait to taste that chocolate from Bolivia because you can see the 12th generation that harvested the cocoa beans and ate it. And you want to find different websites that you can add your skill set to. You want to negotiate different deals wherever they're at right now. You get a share, and you can do it two ways. If they don't have anything else to sell, you can get a share from that, finding them products. You can negotiate now that you know partnering, getting products without having to inventory. You can negotiate for them if you find them better sources. You can negotiate with them if you can figure out how to make their non-buyers buy. You can negotiate for them when you create a voice and you give them a persona. And I think it will be great fun for you because my very quick interpretation and assessment of you is you're very gifted, but you have so much drive, creativity, and desire that instead of being focused, you can get diffused very easily. And if you do this, what I'm telling you, then you start making money and it's stable. And what happens, what I always do, if I have 10 projects I'm working on, I give them all a very fair effort, but I want to make sure my partners do their part. Very probably you will be disappointed with 2 or 3, and that's okay because you'll learn from it. Then you'll replace them with 2 or 3 more. But as you start making money, then you can put a portion of that money into new projects that commercially make money but help empower women. And that can be the benefit or the reward you give yourself for getting diversified but not diffused. Does that make sense? And I think you could do great. But keep in mind, you don't have to recreate the wheel. I can promise you right now, in Japan, just like in the United States, just like in Malaysia, there are not hundreds or thousands, but probably tens of thousands of women who started websites who don't know how to get them to their full success. And you really know how. You just probably, this is not meant to be rude. You're struggling to get out of your own way. Do you know what that means? Because you got It's like, and if you stop that, and like it's funny. I have in my life complexities and problems, and I don't always solve them, but I can solve other people's problems very easily. So if you move yourself away from your own, chaos, and start getting focused on, okay, I'm going to create a voice. I'm going to help them better choose, better merchandise, better the things you can do well. And you do that for a diversified portfolio of partner relationships. And all of them are chosen by you, not just because they're cool or because they're the first ones you see, but because they already have within them attributes you can leverage off of. You don't want a website that has no email list. You don't want a website that has no traffic. You want something that already has part of the puzzle but doesn't have all of it. Does that make sense? Okay, that's it. Does that help?
その時に今
Yes, and in the past, when I gave them ideas, in Japan, ideas are not very valuable, not seen as very valuable. So even if we provide ideas, if I provide them ideas, it's difficult for me to ask for money or ask for a contract.
Not a problem. I'm going to tell you what you learned over the 3 days, but most people don't remember that they learned it. If it's not something you're strong at, you bring a third party in, someone else, to make the deals for you. And you teach them or they learn. See, ideas are not, you've got to, remember I talked about 2 or 3 days ago, you want to animate an idea. You want to make it come to life. You want people to see not the idea, but what it's going to do for someone. You want them to see that this is going to give your company a voice. This is going to make people be eager to come back to your website. This is going to make them trust you and want to buy you want to sell the result. And if you are not good at that, or you are a little bit tentative at that, or you are a little bit, let's say, uncomfortable with that, or maybe because the last year hasn't been the best year and your divorce gave you a little bit of insecurity, you don't have all the self-confidence, find someone else to represent you who does. And then all you have to do is deliver. Get a partner who just makes the deal for you. And he or she can be ballsy, if you guys know what ballsy means, confident. There's no excuse for anyone who's got greatness within them not to be able to use it. And if you can't comfortably sell the benefits you bring, don't. Get somebody else. Most every actor in Hollywood has an agent. You know why they have an agent? Because they're not really as confident as you think. They got low self-esteem. They need someone to advocate for them, someone to champion them, someone to express why they're worth $20 million or why they're worth 5% of the box office receipts. Get yourself someone to advocate. Okay? Good. All right. Thank you. I like your dress.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You look so nice.
Thank you. Give me a hug. Be okay. Take a picture. There you go. Take a picture. You got it? Cole is here. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Okay, so he's in the anti-aging field, right?
Hi.
Yes, that's right. But in reality, I'm actually, I work in an IT company, But for the past 10 years, I've been quite ill. And I wanted to do what I wanted to help the society.
Earphone here. Say it one more time. You don't have to say it, but translator, because I wasn't connected. In the last...
So for the last...
Translator, say it. Go ahead.
今日はいはいそうですはい
Sorry, for the last 10 years he's been sick, but he works in an IT company, and for the last 10 years while he's been sick, he's been trying to come up with a way to help society more.
And so now what do you have?
それはいいろんなことをやっ
So among what I've done right now, I'm into anti-aging products. And when I came to this seminar, before I came to this seminar, I read your biography, and it says something like this. It said, for example, there are products and services that are regulated by the government. And in those circumstances, people need to change the way they do marketing and sales and so on. And so you have said that you want to help as many people like that as possible.
It's okay. It's all right. No hurry. Please, please, please. No, don't worry. It's fine. Please, don't worry. But so help me understand what it is you're trying to accomplish.
はい要は
So as I said, there was somebody said before that public servants are not allowed to do certain things, but there are a lot of government regulations, and I was wondering how we can go about those regulations to create a better world for Japan and the world.
Please, give me your hand. You'll be good. Here, that's it. It'll be good. Sit. Sit. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. One of the things, it's okay. One of the things that impacts me the most about here, and it is really unique here, is you all have a driving desire to make such a difference. And maybe you were even emotionalized more because of the tsunami, but it's very impressive. So let me see if I understand your question before I answer it, okay? You have products you want to sell that are anti-aging, but there are laws that will not let you show before and after. But my question is, do you have great results? Let's see. That's like acne and things. It's almost, yeah, it's impressive. Yeah, very impressive. Is that
今
a...
ですねアンチエイジング
So, for example, acne and so on, our cosmetic products are great for acne. And the thing is, we want to spread these cosmetic products. And, for example, we're not allowed to use government places like venues and so on.
In an ad, right? You couldn't show this in an ad.
ですねその会社が
Yes, we're not allowed to show them. And the people who use it, our fans, well, the only way to spread our product is to create fans.
So that's good. All right, I'm going to share with you an enormous number of things that I've done for clients over the years when they had to operate in highly regulated fields that the laws would not let them do certain things. I'm going to go on record and say I don't know your laws. I'm not an attorney, so don't do exactly whatever I say, but use it as a springboard or a foundation to think. So, first of all, the easiest way to avoid having to say anything before and after is to find affinity groups that already have the market you want. For example, if you went to somebody who had an email list or a website for parents of teenage kids who were taking the cram courses, and you know that the average teenage kid taking a cram course is 16 to 18, and the average kid 16 to 18, guess what he or she has a lot of? Hormones. And guess what hormones produce a lot of? Acne. So if you went to those people and you were able to just privately say, we can't show this, but not only will I show you this, pick out 5 or 10 of your members or readers or clients, and I will give their children treatment gratis. And then depending on the result, all you have to say is, we can't say anything good or bad. All we can say, and this is what the email would say, is we picked 10 parents whose children had tremendous acne problems. We gave them a product to try for 3 weeks free. All of them wanted to buy it at the end of the 3 weeks. What does that say? It implies what you want without saying it. Does that make sense? There's another way you can do it also. But first of all is figure out who already has access to the target audiences you would want to reach if you were running ads on the open market. But that these people have such strong access that they're just telling somebody about something very subtly has the same impact as something very good. And I happen to have a great example. A friend of mine had an investment company. He had an investment newsletter that had 1 million subscribers. He invested in an anti-aging product. And in the States, they had problems like that. He couldn't say anything. So he wrote an email to his list and said, I am an investor in this company. I wouldn't have invested if I didn't think their research was superior and I didn't see results that were extraordinary. But unfortunately, our laws don't let me tell you any of the successes. All I can tell you is that I am willing to personally guarantee that if you buy this cream and you don't see enormous results on your face and neck in 3 weeks, I won't even keep your money. I mean, you can do things that use the strength and in the integrity of the other person. There's another way to do it. You can tell the negative as a positive, and you got to make sure you check with an attorney, but I'll tell you how the advertising would read. It would say, we wish that Japanese law allowed us to show you the before and after pictures because we know you wouldn't believe what you would see, but it's illegal. We can't do that. All we can tell you is we are confident enough in the satisfaction you'll get either to your face or your acne or your whatever the application is, that we won't even deposit your check or we won't even process your credit card until you've been using it for 4 weeks. We wish we could even explain how wonderful of an outcome you can expect, but even that's illegal. We can't do that. But do you understand what I just did by doing that? It has the same positive implication because you've got that confidence. The next thing you could do is if you can find somebody with respect, you can have them become the spokesperson, and you can almost have a laughing spokesperson. This person says, they brought me to be the spokesperson, but I can't legally say anything. I wish I could. All I can tell you is when I use the product and I go out at night, people think I've had a facelift. When I use the product and I go out at night, people ask, they think I'm my daughter. When I use the product and I go to parties, they ask me for the name of my cosmetic surgeon. So I'm not telling you you'll get the same result. I can't show you anything. I'm not allowed to say, but do you see what I'm saying? You can use the negative in very positive ways. So what I'm saying to you is a couple of things. First, figure out who already has such a strong relationship with a different kind of anti-aging or restorative types of marketplaces you want to reach. For example, what I said earlier, did that make sense that all the people that are selling cram courses, those are the kids that have acne and they got stress and they're worried about getting in college and their pimples are bursting out and their hormones are bursting out and their parents are going, oh my God. We have a friend that happened to, and they spent a fortune. All they need is somebody they can trust. And if the cram course person says, we've done everything in our power to help your son or daughter get into the best school, but we see a trend because of the stress that they're through and you put on them in this time of their life, they have a lot of acne. And that's such a tragedy because it doesn't have to be. There's a product that we've been introduced to that's great. We wish we could show you the pictures. We can't. All we can do is say, if you trust us for what we did to help your son or daughter get into college, trust us to try this product. Does that make sense? Is this?
Yes. Yes.
What you have to do is not be clever. You don't even have to be covert. You just have to realize that the truth and the problem can be more of an advantage than a disadvantage. You just have to know. Remember I talked about yesterday and the day before that the key to all this is how do you harness and how do you harvest all kinds of powers and forces. And I talked about whatever it was, Aikido or the martial arts where you use the power of the enemy for your advantage. First thing you have to do when you go home is be very clear. Who's the market for this product of mine? Who's the market for that product of mine? Who already has a relationship with it? And by the way, it was very interesting. The story I was telling you about my friend, the investment advisor, his investors were all my age or older. I'm almost 65. So, I mean, I can tell you this. I'm lucky. I have good genes. But I got dry skin. I can see the wrinkles in my chest. And women have that. You don't, but they have that. And when you get to be 60 or 65, those things are really important. And if somebody you trust says, this is going to help renew your skin, or if they say, I can't legally tell you this is going to help renew your skin. All I can tell you is my wife won't go to bed at night without using it, and she won't go out in the morning without using it, and maybe you ought to use it first, or two. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes.
A minute, pick up the microphone, and then summarize for me what you think you've heard me say to you.
So all along I thought this way, but instead of my way of thinking, I've been always thinking hard. However, I should ponder even harder the environment in the anti-aging, and there I should find now I think I am confident to be able to do this instead of showing before and after photos. So I should capitalize, I should utilize the relational capital such as the cram school that which was mentioned earlier. And then I also carry some dietary products. So I'm also fat, but I think I can also utilize the same approach to these dietary food. For example, diabetes, or the doctors that doctors may be able to help me. So I have a feeling that I should be able to do that. And
one of the things that happens when you're emotional and passionate and in a hurry is you go too many ways. If you start with let me start with, there's a word I want to make sure, there's a word for it when you take something internal, but let me think what it is. You don't want to start with something consumable if you can start with something external. If I were you, I would start with your creams and your salves, because that's easier to get partners to collaborate with. You can give it to them and say, if you're a woman, take it for 2 weeks and you'll be my fan or you won't. If you're taking pills, not only is that problematic because certain people don't like to, they're worried about it, it has more volatility. I would make ingestibles, pills and supplements, your second area. I would start with that first because you can have so much fun with that. And also, if you start looking at who you can do relational capital with, there are going to be a lot of supplement companies who don't have the anti-aging or restorative external. They aren't going to have the creams or the balms or the rich nutrient, and so you can add to that, and they won't mind it. So you don't have to work that hard. All you have to do is have fun using the problem to your own advantage. Does that make sense? There's another thing I want to share. It applies to all of you. We call it the maybe, maybe not syndrome. It's very fun. Maybe, maybe not. And I don't know what it's going to sound like in Japanese. But I first learned it when somebody wrote an ad for me. And they were telling about all the things people wanted. I know you want to double your profits overnight. I know you want to, do this. Will he double your profits for you overnight? Will he do this? Maybe, maybe not. Can't tell. All we can tell is the results have been extraordinary for some people. We think it can be extraordinary for you. If it's not, we don't feel right keeping your money. If it is, it'll be the best money you ever spent because your complexion will change or this will happen. Only you can tell. We can't legally tell you anything except we wouldn't spend the time and effort to get this message to you. Or if it's a relational capital, I wouldn't put the trust, the credibility, the goodwill, the relationship I've worked so hard to build with you on the line to encourage you to try out something unless I felt in my heart it was going to have profound positive impact. Does this help you?
yes, understood.
Hi.
Thank you so much.
Okay, good. It'll be fine. It'll be okay. It'll be good. Take a picture. Take a picture. Okay. All right. So let me explain what I think you're saying, and then you either confirm it or reject it. And it so happens, I'll give you a very interesting piece. I went to India for 5 weeks and stayed in the clinic that was run by the Ayurvedic physician to the Dalai Lama. So I have a little bit of understanding of Ayurvedic medicine. Okay, so he wants, I think, to create an Ayurvedic clinic for women that is not real high-end in terms of, not real like snotty, but really is healthful and healing and therapeutic and restorative, because the results that have been happening from Indian Ayurvedic medicine here are extraordinary, and the statistics I just saw were exceptional. Is that correct?
That's very correct.
Okay. So why don't you start by asking me the question or questions you think are the big problem with helping you accomplish the goal.
So first of all, Ayurveda effect is wonderful, and I have already the track record at the results. And it's called the Ayurveda. It's born in India, but actually this is already been around in Japan for the past 3 decades, and we have stores and 55 stores. I feel that they are created in Japan over the past 3 decades, and then every day, we only have 6 clients, which is really small, and I want to increase the number of the clients. And the biggest stumbling block is that the Ayurveda is a medicine in Japan. However, the recognition is so low in Japan, and there's so many people who don't know about the Ayurveda. And the Japanese people think that it's expensive. It's an aesthetic for beauty, only available for the expensive woman or the wealthy woman. And because of that, it's quite difficult to attract clients. And therefore, clients don't come to the stores, and therefore we cannot really expand the stores or the outlets. And also the description of the effects earlier, I think you worked on the pharmaceutical affairs laws restriction, and because of that we can't really describe that, and we can't really state that in the flyers, in the catalogs. And what we are doing is that we have published a book, and using that book we are trying to disseminate that impact or by collecting the statistical data and tying up with the doctors. We are disclosing the data. However, it is still difficult to spread that, or it is difficult for us to disclose that statistical data to the mass people, and then therefore that's the biggest problem that I'm facing right now.
Ask you a couple of questions. Where is there one clinic? How many? Do you just have one facility?
Myself, 2. I have 2.
Tokyo?
Not Tokyo, but Kanagawa Prefecture. Fujisawa is the particular name of the city that I have.
Okay. All right, so here's a couple questions. What are you doing with the book right now?
So in this kind of a seminar, I didn't bring any this time, but I usually bring like 100 or 200, so I distribute them and then try to explain that, we have a good track records and we tie up with doctors, so we are trying to make an efforts to improve the trust.
Is the book, I'm going to use a phrase which hopefully translators you can translate, eminently readable. By that I mean, is it very engaging to the lay person, and does it really present a great story that they can grasp and gets them excited about wanting it, or is it very dry and drab and just full of clinical details?
Well, somewhere in the middle. So it's a lot to read. So it's not a small booklet that anyone can read. It's not like that. So I think there is a room for improvement.
The book that you guys have here, Sticking Point, I have personally given away over 2 million of them in the States. I give them away digitally. I get people to give them away. I get people to give them away, not even if they come to my website. I let them give them away on their website because I know that people will search me and find me. So first thing you should do, let me ask you this question. At your 2 facilities, you have either practitioners or doctors or technicians. Are they paid salary, or are they paid on in proportion to the clients they treat?
Basically, they're given monthly salary, and then when they reach a certain level, they get bonuses.
So you can do a variation of what I talked about the other day. And I don't know about yourself, you're very charismatic and colorful. You can go in your city to influential people. And again, influential does not necessarily mean the head of Mitsubishi. It could be the most popular hair salon. And you could say, I want to personally buy you, a month's worth of treatment or this, because I know that you'll feel so great afterwards. And if you'd rather send somebody, or there's another way, you can take particular issues, maladies, problems that Ayurvedic is even greater at solving. Backache or this, or female problems, or I'm not trying to be constipation, whatever it is, and you can say, if you can go to influencers and say, if there's anybody in your life that you care about that has any of these problems, we would like to resolve them for them at our expense. And we're doing them very honorably, because we know if they experience and show you the profound impact that Ayurvedic had to them, you'll tell the world. And we know that the world will be better off. Our whatever you call it, our practice will grow, and we'll be able to reach a lot more people. But first, it will never happen if we don't make a difference. So it's our pleasure. And if you're paying a salary anyhow, and you're only getting 6 people, and you could treat 60 people, it doesn't cost you very much. And everybody that comes is potentially 40 people that can be referred. So that's the first thing I would do. And if you don't have time to do it, if your doctors or your treatment people are quality looking, they look, whether they're men or women, they look professional, and they can be guided to communicate from the heart, have them go out and say, we wanted to personally introduce ourselves. We would like to, we and the facility would like to buy you a month's of treatment, or would like to, treat any 3 people you want with any malady they've got that is appropriate, and we won't charge, and we have there's no expectation. We understand that if we produce profound and stunning results, it can't help but come back. You'll tell the world. If we don't, then we will be the loser. Think about it. We wouldn't be making this offer if we didn't think we could profoundly help. And you do that all day long. All day long. And and it's only a matter of time, but that's only one activity. You take the book, and it's probably too hard to read if it's all clinical. I would make it more reader-friendly. Find a ghostwriter and have him or her turn this book into this, and then go to every really interesting website, email list that you can find, and have them give it away digitally. If it's really readable, go to every place. If women are a bigger prospect than men, go to the hair salons and publish it as a book. Give them, like what we did with the cosmetic surgeon book, we gave every hair cutter a book for themselves to take home. We gave every hair cutter a book to put at their station. We put 4 copies of the book in the lobby. We put a copy of the book in the toilet room. We put copies of the book where the hair dryers were. We took it to the nail places. We took it to the hair places. We took it to the sun tanning salons. We took it to the dental offices. Does that help a little bit? That's one thing you can do. The next thing you can do is, you're very colorful. Are you a good communicator? Do you write well? Are you a good writer?
I'm good at writing.
And I bet you're very charismatic in presenting. So go to organizations online and start presenting. And then start creating. Every time I've ever created a press release for a client, we've always gotten at least 160 to 2,000 online and offline media sources to pick it up. And the reason is I always find a fascinating angle that nobody has ever had before. So maybe you say, maybe your angle is, well, everyone's trying to, while medicine's trying to go forward to, into the future, there's a lot of answers 5,000 years back. And then you start with that, and you talk about, this thing, and you talk about, and maybe you make, and you send all these press releases, and you talk about the fact that anybody that wants can get a copy of this book gratis if they just go to your salon or call, or your studio. And you start driving lots of activity like that. Every day, whether you have the time or you bring a partner in, bring a relational capital partner, have him or her organize for you every day either an interview, can be a radio interview, can be a newspaper interview. A lot of websites have podcasts, and commit yourself. I mean, this is going to sound funny, but one of my great mentors, I've had 100 great mentors, said success is more a battle of wills. If you want to will it to happen more than I want to will it not to happen, you're going to win. But you can't just think about it. You got to do it, and you got to realize that there is a scientific process where if you have all these activities start happening, the dynamism of them all converging will be explosive. But it can't be explosive if you don't help put them into action. There's a couple of other things you can do. Figure out, what do you charge for treatments? How much do treatments cost?
平均的に1万5
Average $150 for 2 hours.
3時間
So it's longer. Other competitors are like charging $300, but I'm doing it as a half price as theirs.
And do you have it, that's just your normal price, or do you say it's half price?
それを伝えていないです。
Well, I'm saying I am charging $150. Yes, that's right.
It doesn't matter if they don't want it. You can charge it for $1, but you have to get them to want it so badly and see you as really the definitive person. So another thing you can do is see who one of the most fun things to do in the book business, particularly in the beauty and health business, authors gain stature and then they lose it. There's a concept. Everybody wants a new drug, and whoever's popular last year is not popular this year. Go back in time, a year, 2 years, 3 years. See who was popular with books on beauty, books on health, because probably half of them fell out of fame, but they're still around. Get them to be your endorsers. Get them to be your board of advisors. Get them to be your your advocates, and give them a share of the future income, because they have already got this stature with a lot of people. Is there a key target age that is the primary one you're after?
Well, in the beauty business, I can't think of anyone in particular, but I'm trying to have the wife of Prime Minister Abe as my fan.
個人的に
Personally, I actually have direct access to her, personally.
Has she ever taken treatment?
関心を持って
She is interested, so I will start challenging.
But think about it. One of the things and you're very impressive. I enjoy you already. But one of the things and it's worth every cent of what you pay me if all I do is tell you that you haven't done any of the things you already know to do. Because maybe it'll haunt you to do it, but think about this. And I told a story on the stage, but I'll tell it again. One time I was at a Tony Robbins program, and a man came up, and he was complaining that he'd tried all these things to make more money, and nothing worked. And Tony looked at him, and Tony's this big 7-foot person. He goes, everything? And the guy said, everything. And Tony said, fine. List for me the last, 25 different technical schools you'd applied to learn a new skill. List for me the last 50 or 60 franchises you had communicated with to start a new business. List for me all the different books you've read about skill building. And he just killed this guy because the guy hadn't done any of it. And I'm saying that not to criticize you or anybody, but most people say, I can't figure it out. But you've only tried a couple of linear things that are the hardest and least. I was going to say for you, if you had a list, one of my friends, another great concept. The concept was called the Dream 100. And he said, make a list of the 100 dream clients that if you had them, everyone else would follow. And make a list of the 100 or 200 people in your city or in the country that you'd love to be your clients. Not for money, but for prestige. And then every day send another letter to everyone. And when you send everyone a letter, make another 100 list and start sending them, and go back to the same first 100 and send them another letter. And you'll win if you have a greater will. There's another statement. That's what happens at the end of a day like this. There's another statement that I think is profound. If you have 99 ways to say no, and I have 100 ways to get you to say yes, who's going to win?
100の方が
The 100th guy.
So I've just given you the strategy. All you got to do is do it more expansively, continuously, and don't do it on one plane. Do it on a lot, and just go back to your city. First thing I would do, and again, it's always smarter. What's the first, second, third thing to do? If you've got 2 offices with 2 staffs, and most of those staffs aren't being used very much, either you or them, get them out there buying people who are influential treatment. Because if every day you start treating 10 more people who are influential, even if you don't make a penny, that means every week in 2 facilities, you're treating 10 times 2, that's 20 times 50, or every day, 10 times 2 times 5 times 4 1/3. That means that it's only going to take about 2 or 3 months, and a critical mass and influence will take over. And you know in your heart that more often than not, meaning in the majority of times, you're going to produce a great outcome. You don't need any more from me. You just need to go out and do it.
ということは私は
So it means that I just have to find a good customer. That's my job. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying you've got to use the wonderful, wonderful leverage in relationships that have already been built by all kinds of other people and harness it. You don't have to find customers. You have to start harnessing other people's relationships.
For example, you're saying maybe make Mr. Son from SoftBank. Do you know him? He's a very powerful person. You have a client?
that high, but you don't have to. If the local hairdresser has influence with 2,000 people, if the you get an article every couple of days in not even the major newspaper, but the neighborhood newspaper. You don't have to do very much. You just have to do a lot of impactful things with people who already have the trust. If you're trying to get people, what you said, totally, and you got to work a little bit on the language that you give them to use. But if the big problem is that people think of Ayurvedic as a medicine, not a beauty, and you need them to think differently, you've got to use that negative to your benefit. If you go to people who have influence and say, the biggest misconception out there is that, do you ever notice how beautiful Indian women are? Do you ever wonder why they're so beautiful? It's not just their genes, it's that they've been practicing a beauty regimen for 5,000 years that most people think of as only when they have a pain. Or, I mean, you've got to reconfigure the way we think about things. But the key thing for you is don't run advertising. Find people out there that already have these relationships. And you don't have, I mean, if you get the prime minister, great. If you get the head of SoftBank, great. But truthfully, if you got every respected hairdresser and every respected dentist and every respected dress shop and every nice restaurant to do it, it would be the same. If the hostess of a restaurant, you walked in there and she looked beautiful, and they said, "My God, Sally, did you have your face lifted?" She goes, "No, it's Ayurvedic. I went to..." You're making it harder on yourself than it has to be. Does that make sense? Okay, done.
わかりました。
Yes, thank you very much.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I like that too. Very snazzy. I think I understand, but I would appreciate if you would very quickly summarize your business and then summarize the real problem or the question, because I want to make sure that I understand it. I think I do, but explain it to me and you'll explain it to them too.
はい。
First of all, my biggest question is, there are beauty salons and spas and so on all over Japan, and we are offering booking systems, online booking systems to them. And they're free services right now that we're offering. But the problem is, we're just a small IT business. So even though our services are free, we aren't getting enough responses from these beauty salons and so on. It's not that we're not getting any responses, but it's not as much as what we're expecting. For example, let's say there are hairdressers, and there's a portal site for hairdressers, and there's a client list, and we sent our offer to 3,200 people, and we only got about 80 responses. And so out of that, let's see, we only had 1%, 1 point something percent, who actually decided to implement our free system, booking system. And the thing is, we have a back-end product that we'd also like to sell, but the thing is, we aren't getting enough enough applicants to the free service yet.
So is the booking service, so you've got a software they can use or a cloud-based that they can use to book everything, and you're offering them the use of it free, because once they start a relationship, you can then sell them other IT services. Is that correct?
そうです。
Yes.
You could. So let me make it really easy for you. And I haven't seen your sales letter, but I'm going to educate you on some really cool things most people don't understand. And then I'm going to also be doing the audience at the same time. So in getting people started for a relationship, there are many different ways to attract them. One is to just make the offer of the literal service. We'll give you a booking service and it's yours gratis. The other is to ethically seduce them with such irresistible bonus that they have to say yes. For example, if you said, we'll get you at least 100 more referrals in the next 6 months, guaranteed for free, plus provide you a booking and reservation service that will guarantee you will get at least 10% more people coming in, and we won't charge you a cent. That's probably a lot more powerful than your letter, don't you think?
これは
Yes. So, are you talking about if we're using the booking system? Are you saying that we use the hairdressers or hair salons to get prospective clients for ourselves?
What I'm saying is that instead of just sending a letter that offers the service itself, which is not that exciting perhaps, you send an offer of not just the service, but of another bonus with the service that is irresistible. What hairdresser wouldn't like to have 100 more referrals? You think hairdressers would like to have more clients? Everyone wants more clients. You want more clients. Your hairdresser is a business owner, right? And he or she would love to have more clients. If you went to, did you go to my other program? Did you go to my home study or the live seminar? Okay, so in your workbook, I think there's a section that has 93 referral strategies. If you went to that and you took those referral strategies and you didn't pirate them exactly, but you restated them, you could create a report for beauty shops that taught them 93 ways that they could get more referrals from their clients. And if you sent a sales letter out that instead of saying, we'll give you a free booking service, said, we want to help grow your beauty salon, so we want to give you 93 better ways that you can generate referrals all day long. And we promise it'll get you at least 100 more referrals in the next year, and there's no charge. Plus, we'll give you a booking service that is designed to get you an extra 15% of clients staying with you, and that too is free. And we're doing it because we want to start a relationship. Because we know if we can help you grow your salon, if we can help you get more referrals, if we can help you book more people, if we can help you get more of your clients coming back, you're going to love us and you're going to want to use our IT services in the future. That's one thing. That's only one thing. Now, if beauty salons or any kind of an organization that has booking and reservations or appointments is the target for you, then you have to use what you learned this weekend and say, okay, who already deals with beauty salons but is not a competitor? People who sell soap, people who sell hair dryers, people who sell hairbrushes, people who sell, trying to think what else I see at my hairdresser, scissor sharpening. You get them all to be your partners and send letters for you. That a good friend of ours once has the greatest reservation service, and he's willing to make it available free because he knows that you'll use his other services. And you don't do one, you do all of them. And that's another approach you use. I'm going to continue because you're going to find this out, that it's very cool. If you mail 3,000 letters and you get 1% response, if you go to somebody else who's got a list of the same people and you pay them a fee to mail the same letter but endorse it, you'll probably get 3 or 4 times that response. So if you went to somebody who rents mailing lists, let's say you can rent a list of hairdressers from the hairdressing magazine. And if you rent it, it's 10 cents a name. But if you go to the hairdressing magazine and say, I'll tell you what, I'd rather pay you 20 cents a name if you'll endorse my letter. Because even if you paid twice as much for the list, you might get 5 times more response if the letter's coming from someone they trust. Do you understand that? One of the reasons most sales letters don't get good response is they don't even get opened. The reason they don't get opened is that I don't know who they're coming from. Or if I don't know who they're coming from, I don't trust it. Or I think it's a sales letter. If I trust Beauty Supply magazine, but I don't know who you are, I might be 3 times more likely to open a letter from them. Does that make sense? And if I'm 3 times more likely to open it, I might not. I mean, I might be 3 times more likely to respond. I'm sorry, my mind was trapped. Let me ask you another question. Do you have any detail, documentation, or clinical evidence that your reservation booking service performs better than other ones they might be using? And performs better means it captures more people. People that use it have a higher average filled calendar. People that use your service have more people coming back more often. The kind of things that make it more valuable than just saying it's a booking service. Does that make sense to you? Yes?
Yes, right now. Yes, we do have that sort of data, first of all. And we have this special mailing system, which is not free. You have to pay for that.
An upgrade.
そうですね、アップグレードです。
Yes, yes.
Do they confirm the appointment? They send out the mailing, like the notice or something?
Could you repeat it one more time?
A service that after somebody makes a reservation or an appointment, then it sends out a confirmation letter or something?
あ、そうです、そうです。
Yes, exactly. It's like a follow-up mail after someone does a booking. So, and we use AI to in this service. But for example, let's say on Friday we sent out 7 letters. The next day, a lot of them, a big percentage of them would actually come to the store or something. So we have this kind of data. Well, not all of it, but.
You have the data, but do you use that data in your sales material to try to excite people?
Well, actually, for this seminar, I mean, because of this seminar, since you told me to record it and then document it and then with an endorsement letter and then sign it and then you should upload it. And from tomorrow, I'm meaning to do that. I'm gonna.
You probably have more success stories than not even you know, but that even they know. They may not even know how much better off they are now that they're using your reservation system and the upgrade. But if it's a secret, then nobody benefits. Now that you, I mean, if your and by the way, if your system with the artificial intelligence and the follow-up really makes a difference, you could go to the industry magazines and challenge them to a test. Say, I think we can double, or I think we can improve the show-up rate of a salon. Let's take 10 salons and we'll do a test and compare us to anything else. Compare our system to anyone else, because they're in business to maximize, and you want to put into words. So a lot of times there are, do you remember when I was giving the instruction to the gentleman who had the massage people, and I was talking about how when he talked to the 3 top people and he had the 12 bottom ones, he had to put into words what they were doing and why, because they'd never thought about it? Well, most small independent business people, like hairdressers or restaurants or you know, whatever you're using, they don't really even think about the fact that you're in business to get the maximum results from your time, your effort, to get the clients you invest your relationships in to keep coming back and give you referrals. If they are not, then you are denying yourself and your business greater success and profit. Our goal is to help you realize all the success and profit, all the repeat, all the referrals that you deserve. But if you don't use the right systems, you can't maximize it. There are a lot of reservation systems out there, and this is great. There's a phrase we use, and I don't know how this will come across in Japanese, but it's great. And they're fine for what they are. But our system was not designed to be a reservation system. It was designed to be an integrated client maximization and growth system. Ours is not just a piece of software to keep track and schedule appointments. Ours is a system to keep your clients coming back, to make sure that they show up, to make sure that every hour of every day that you maximize, to make sure that your clients always show up and you realize, I mean, do you understand what I'm trying to say? And how
Yes.
it is?
Yes.
Much more exciting way of distinguishing and differentiating what you've got. Now, let me ask this question. Will most of them just be using either a stock software, or would they be or just doing it manually? How would they normally be doing it?
Stock meaning the stock business, or you mean the inventory, or?
How do most hairdressers keep track of appointments now? Do they have software they use, and where do they get it? Or they just do it manually?
Well, finally, the hair salons started to utilize a software to get, so they are willing, they're more willing, but most of the time they still take phone calls and then manually take appointments onto the calendar, and especially those who are older.
Themselves, is that right? Or yours, is it a combination that the client can book it themselves, or is it the cloud-based system that the hair salon uses there?
クラウドベースです。
Okay.
Cloud-based.
Okay. So what you want to do, you don't want to be seen. I'm going to tell you a distinction. You do not want to be seen as a mere technology provider. You want to be seen as a strategic client growth, preservation, and expansion specialist. Does that make sense? Because now everybody else is just a a technology. You are somebody who's purposely committed. Anybody can keep track. You know, anybody can say, do this and put your appointment here. We make sure that your clients show up, they come back. You want to show that you look at it strategically as a business builder, not as a mere technology, like a static technology. I mean, I'm not being very clear, but does this make sense to you? Separates you from everybody else. Separately, you should do research with your past clients, with your current clients, with anything there, and create reports, white paper reports that show how much business is lost or not maximized when somebody either uses a manual system because they write it down wrong, they're trying to do too many things, they put it in the wrong place, they double book, and if you double book one time, you lose $50 that month. And you might lose the goodwill of the client because you might have to change it, it might not work, they might have to postpone, they might get mad and go to somebody else. But create a report that people who are still using manual systems use, and create another report that shows why all booking systems aren't the same. And then always in all of your marketing, always in all of your sales letters, don't be implicit, be explicit. Say, look, somebody has to make the first investment in the relationship. We love the hairstyle business, or we love the restaurant business, or we love the dental business, and we know that you are great, hardworking people who don't deserve to have one lost client, don't deserve to lose one lost appointment, and we know you are worth us investing in first. We're very willing to make the first investment in you. We don't need you to make the first investment in us. That's why we're fine buying you a system that's worth $200 a year gratis. We know that once you see your bookings rise, your show-ups rise, people come back more often, your bank account grow, you're going to want to use many more of our services that are compensated. So we're very eager right now to and show them that the reason why you're doing it. Does that make sense?
Well, the last part, why? What are the reasons? The reasons why this system can grow the business? Is that the point that I should write?
It's two kinds of reasons why. One is the reasons why the system can grow the business, and the other is the reason why you are only too willing to be the one that invests in the relationship first. Investing in the relationship means you're going to provide this valuable reservation system, and you're going to pay for it because you know that they're a long-term relationship, that once they see how much value your company can bring them without charge, they'll be more than willing to explore and consider some of the compensated upgrade services. But you explain right there with integrity why you're doing it. And you project forward. It's called future pacing. You tell them what will happen when they have your system. The moment you start using this system, here's what will happen. And then you say, you'll never double schedule anyone. You'll never have anyone come the wrong time. You'll never have someone forget about their appointment. And you give them a list of all the benefits. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Done, but does this give you a good new way of looking at your business?
What you just said, actually, I've been already working on them. There are some of them, I'm sorry, there are some new ones, and then there are some ones that are already in progress. Now, I'm in front of you, Jay. So I'd like to ask you just one more question. The characteristic of this reservation system or sign-up system is that it's quite difficult to generate referrals. And once the hair salon introduces this, they enjoy the benefits, so they don't have the reason to give us referrals. At least for their competitors, they're not willing to make a referral. So that's the bottleneck. So like even across the competitors, like what is the mechanism that I can use to generate the referrals?
There are certain scenarios and certain situations where regular referrals are just very difficult because of those competitive and selfish reasons. So don't even spend a lot of time on that. Spend time on setting up alliances with the other people that reach the, see, the people that sell the hairbrushes or the people that sell the shampoo, they have a lot of motivation in seeing every stylist in every hair salon have the maximum number of clients because they're going to use the maximum number of shampoo and reorder, and they're going to use the maximum number of hairbrushes. They are neutral as far as worrying about one over the other. So they are your greatest referral allies, not the so don't even worry about, you worry about treating each salon as special, because they are, and get your leverage out of the other influencers. You can, and keep in mind, there might be like, you might do some research and see, like the gentleman that was here that sells, rents mats and floor things. Maybe there's suppliers that rent mats or come and take away the hair because it's biohazard. There's all kinds of other people who have access to your markets. And now we're talking about hairstylists. If you do restaurants, I don't know, whatever you do, but just think about that. But don't worry about if the salons have a natural reluctance because of territorial fear. Remember I was telling the gentleman who asked a question yesterday who was trying to get the government to do something that was very hard, and they wouldn't tell him. And it's like, don't do it then. Go to where it's easy. Go to where it's easy. Go to where there's a natural receptivity and it's not going to be competitive. And they're going to love it because you not only will make the money, but you'll make the money helping them do more of what they do. Does that make sense?
Hi.
So earlier, I think you said to someone, 50 initial contracts, and then 200 to 50,000, they make the investment, and then other 200 would so the profits generated from the subsequent 200 will be returned back to the initial 50 investors or initial contractors. So
I don't know what the story was, but what's the question you're asking? Just ask me a question. I just don't remember what story I was talking about. It's okay. Ask me your question.
So the question is, I want to use a leverage for growth. How do I make the mechanism? I think earlier you made about that the initial 50 leading contractors, and then make the successful cases, and then after that, I think 200, and then there will be the profit sharing.
Yeah, I get it. I understand now. You're right. You were talking about attorneys. I'm sorry. I told so many stories, I don't remember them. Well, here's what you can do. You could find the top salons in every city. You could say to them, if you become my client, first of all, I can promise that your business will grow. Your clients will come more often, etc. I am willing to let you just use my gratis service, but I think you're going to want to use the upgrade. But if you use it well and you let me also use you as a endorser and a case study example, I will take the 50 top salons and we will then give you a share of the future revenue that comes from all the other salons all over Tokyo, or now all over Japan, that start using the software. Does that work?
Yes, I understood.
Okay. 1 second. What I'm doing here wrong? Thank you. Let's take a picture. Okay. So, okay. You own a driving school.
はい
Yes.
Okay, it looks like a pretty nice sized one. And he markets to obviously students, and the business is down, but he wants to know mostly how can he market students in the off season, right?
はい
Okay, I'm going to ask some questions.
はい
So
Yes.
give me the profile, both age and anything else distinguishing about the students that you teach. How old would they be? What else would there be that would be worth knowing about them?
生徒かということですか。はい教習所
So the students at my driving school are average from 18 to 20, 22 or 3, or like the university, pre-university school students. And then they come to my driving school for somewhere from February or during the summer vacation, which is going to be August or September, and then winter vacation.
Season, is that really when it's most busy, and then is it very, very, very quiet and not much business in the rest of the months?
はい
Yes, that's right. When the business is slow, we have little, or I would say almost all the staffs are, well, they're only working for like 50% of the time, of the utilization. And then when we're busy, though, they're working on, I'm asking them to come on the holidays as well.
Yeah, so it's we call it feast or famine.
Exactly right.
Okay, got it. Okay. So let's talk first of all about what else you can sell to them. And then let's talk secondly about how to get more students, okay? First of all, what do you charge for a student, and what do you really make on profit?
だいたい25万円ぐらいが生徒が払う金額で、それのだいたい
Sorry, $2,500 for that's what I charge, and then 10% or 20% of that is going to be our revenue or profit.
Really, the rest of it goes to cost? That seems low. But it may be because you're dividing it
はい
by your current expenses. Let me ask you a different question. If tomorrow you had all that down, but let me ask one other question, excuse me. Do you pay your instructors by the hour, or how do they get paid?
月給制で
Monthly salary, however, we're also paying them by hourly rate. Like they do the instruction for hour, and then they're paid in proportion to the hours that are on the car. So it's like both.
In the off season, when they only work half, are you still paying them full salary?
乗務手当がな
We're not going to give them an extra for being on a driving course.
Salary.
はい
Okay. So let's talk about what else you can do with the students first, how you can remarket to them or other things, and then let's go and visit how you can get more students, okay?
Other than the driving lessons, you mean?
No. Yeah, it looks like, and I might be wrong, the question, how can I market students in, okay, well, we'll do it differently. So here's how you market students in the off season. I'll make it real easy. You're paying a fixed salary anyhow to your sales, to your people. You said you're making 10 or 15%, but I don't believe that would be true if you added a full utilization in the off months. If you started using everybody much more productively, it would probably be a lot more profit. Like if the worst month, for example, was November, and typically in November, if you only had 50 lessons, but you could have done 500 lessons, and you got another 450 lessons, and now you did do 500, I think you probably make more than 10% on those, because it's like all windfall income except for the premium, the bonus you pay your instructors and the gasoline, isn't it?
Yes.
So here's what you do to start with. You go to all the people that already have the parents' trust, like the cram schools. And the cram schools have all the kids when they're 16 and 17 and 18, same time you do, and they're teaching them all year long. And you figure out how much profit you really have, because, as I said, you probably only do have 10 or 15% right now because you're factoring in all that downtime.
Yes.
If you fill that downtime, that additional business could be very much more profitable.
Yes.
Then you've got enough extra profit that you could go to the cram schools and say, look, we'll give you $500 for every student that you bring us, but don't just ask them. We'll provide you with, we'll come and we'll talk to the students about our school and tell them why, or we'll talk to the parents. You can have special days. We'll bring the cars over. And you start using all kinds of sources like that that already have the parents' trust, that already have the parents spending thousands of dollars with them, that have access to the student at the right age, right? At the right age.
Yes. High school students are, likely to get involved in an accident, like car accident. So the schools are trying not to have them get the driver's license. And the many parents say something like, you wouldn't need a car to go to a university or take the university exam. So that's the current situation in Japan.
But here's the truth, and this is going to be funny, but markets may be down, and I'm sure it is. But if a market is down, there's still going to be patronage. There's still going to be buyers and clients. Your challenge is to move more of the market away from your competitors to you, and then bring new sources of the market in. You're not going to change if the parents and the schools are scared the kids are going to have accidents. You can't change that. But you can change the fact that right now you may be getting 10% of the market. If tomorrow you get 18% of the market, you're not going to change the market going that way or that way, but if right now you're getting this much, and instead you get this much, and you get new sources, so you get a lot more percentage of the new influx, you're going to do better. Does that make sense?
はい。
Yes, I do.
So if you had, are you all over Japan, or are you just in one or two cities?
今は埼玉
Right now, I'm just in one prefecture.
Is it a big city?
埼玉
Well, the prefecture of Saitama is, compared to other cities, it's bigger. We're doing better in terms of the number of the.
Start. Let's identify, and again, the world isn't perfect, so you have to be able to modify your strategies around, pardon me, around the situation. So if, for example, you say the cram schools have kids at 16 and 18, but they do end up, they're done with the cram schools when they get into college, aren't they? And that's the age that you do a lot of things. So if one of the things the cram schools do at the end is tell the parents, look, when your son or daughter needs to drive, there's only one place we recommend. We got your child into a great university. We promise that this is the best driving school to assure that they'll be the safest and the best drivers in the future. Because if they don't get trained and they try to do it themselves, it will be terrible. And if they pick the wrong, so you have 10, 15 cram schools all telling the parents at the end of the process when their child gets into college, which is right when they're about 18 or 19, which is about the time you're going to be wanting them, they have introduced the parents. Then you get the cram schools to let you send letters from the cram schools to the parents, reminding them of you and telling them that the child will be, like programming them, that their child will be needing or wanting, or they're going to want the child trained in driving sometime, in this, and you make an offer. And the offer is that in the season, it's $2,500. Because of the relationship with this cram school, they have negotiated a preferential rate during the off season. And then you do 2 or 3 things like that. So that's one thing you can do, and that's a powerful thing. So the prime target prospect age is what? 18, 19, 20?
はい。
Yes, right now it's rather people who are right before going into like a business society. So it's like a university students. They're right before.
Graduate from
Hi.
the university?
Hi.
Right.
Yes, that's right.
So let's take a look at a couple of other things. Now, your university might be different than ours. In our typical university system, you've got at the university level, you've got housing that the university has, and then when my kids get to be third year or fourth year, they usually go to a house that they rent. And there are a number of large rental organizations that specialize in student housing. So they have access to the students at that period. Oftentimes, the parents are paying the bill, so they have access to that. You could make arrangements with those kind of people. Let's think of who else has access to the students in their last year at the university. So who would it be? Again, I don't know your university system, but there are, on a lot of universities in the States, they have private enterprises that lease facilities at the universities themselves. You might do some research and see what kind, everything from restaurants to clothing stores to sometimes the bookstores are privately owned. But you might look at your city at all of the access points that have access to those students in the last year of college. It could be a rental service that rents them their house. It could be as I said, a private enterprise that leases space for their restaurant or their store on the university. It can be any and every kind of a highly revisited place the university students go to often. Think about it. There's, they go to restaurants, they go to bars, they go to clubs. There's a lot of places that become the hangouts of the university. They could be some of the clubs. There are a lot of activities. There are a lot of like travel things that do things on the vacation time with the students. I mean, you got to work backwards. Who already has relationships with the students and or their parents? So if the real prime is going to be when they graduate, let's take a look at when they're getting into those graduation years, or when they're graduating, what else do they do? They're going to start looking for a job, probably. I mean, I don't know, in your city, when they graduate, do they mostly stay in your city? Or do they go to another city? Because, I mean, you could say, who helps them with employment? Who does? And you got to walk down like almost we call it a tree, but not a list, but a comprehensive recognition of all. There's a concept called the cycle of life. And what it really means for this is all the different activities and progressions that young adult is going through. And if you say the optimal time preferably is going to be in or around their last year of college or when they graduate, and again, like right now, how do you market? How do you market your school right now? What do you do? What are the different marketing activities you do?
Marketing.
In terms of marketing, it comes down to how the students want to get their license, and a lot of.
Do you spend a lot on advertising, marketing? What do you do to find students right now?
For example, we have ads in trains, and we also distribute flyers, and we also advertise through pamphlets that we distribute. We have ads and pamphlets that companies distribute during their training programs.
Okay, so probably, I don't know this, but all our kids get letters when they graduate from all kinds of people, and our kids get letters when they graduate from credit cards and everything. I would bet you could get lists. Maybe not comprehensive, but you should do some research, because if there's a list of the kids that are getting ready to graduate in your city at the colleges, and you can get it, you can experiment, because you could afford to send not one, but a number of letters out to them over a period of time. You could say, you're going to graduate in 6 months, and you can say you're going to graduate in 6 months, and whether you stay in this city or you go to any other part of Japan, you're going to want to learn to drive. When you decide to learn to drive, you're going to want to find the right school. When you graduate, you're going to probably be on a tight budget. If you have the time, this last year of school, we have a special program for for forthcoming grad. And you start something like that to that. Will somebody, I'm actually very cold, will somebody turn the heat up a little bit, please? But you can do that. You can identify, you could send a colleague to a university and see there's all kinds of pretty inventive and pretty sophisticated marketing activities going on to college to soon-to-be college grads. And if you saw all the companies that are marketing to them anyhow, you could make arrangements with them for all kinds of strategic alliances. I don't know what they are because I don't know Japan, but I'm just saying I can promise you they're sophisticated companies because Jordan, my son, how many people offered you credit cards your last year of college? 7. See, look at him over there. 6 companies, 7, sent him letters because they knew who he was and offered him credit cards in his last year of school. So you may be working a lot harder, or you may be spending your money or your time on suspects when you can zero right in on the real prospect. Does that make sense? I don't know enough about it here in Japan, but I'm promising you that there are companies that get the list legally. The lists are available. There are companies who market to them. Some of them are very sophisticated, big corporations, and they wouldn't partner with you, but some of them aren't. There are companies that actually have representatives at the colleges that sell stuff that you could partner with. You could have when you realize in the off season, a student is more profitable to you than, because again, if you tell me you're making 10%, what you're telling me is you're making 10% on the sales you're doing right now. But you're not saying you would make only 10% if you added an extra $2 million of sales in the off season. You might make $1 million on that. So if it's that much, you could go to every campus and you could run an ad and say, commission salespeople wanted, part-time, sell driver training. And you could also do some fun things. You could, I don't know that this is possible. I don't know if it's not possible. You could take your cars on the off time, in the off season, put a sign on the top saying special pricing this time of the year and park it all over the campuses. They're sitting in your garage anyhow. When you say they're only working half time, take them and just park them all over the colleges with signs on them. Because they have your sign on them, don't they? Does that make sense? So I'm just trying to show you how to think differently and how to take advantage, how to turn the negative into a positive. If you've got 50 cars sitting in the garage during September, put them at 50 streets in the universities, but put different signs saying special rates right now. At we can teach you during the day, during the night, whenever your schedule's available. But use really clever, I'm not criticizing you, I'm trying to inspire you. Think connectively. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And think also, if you can go the other way, if you are doing 3,000 students a year, and this are 3,000 young adults that are starting into the world, you could also be a source to them of lots of other things. They're looking for jobs, they're looking for housing, so think about the other things you could make available when you're done. When you're done, including if they're going to buy a car, making arrangements. I mean, you could do all kinds of things as an extension of your relationship with them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And there's probably, but I mean, those things are pretty powerful. Now I can't tell, excuse me, and you're going to raise the heat a little bit for me? I can't tell, I don't want to get sick, facial expression. So I'm hoping that I'm exciting you. I hope I'm not frustrating you because I can't read your face, but I'm trying to give you some very powerful ideas. Remember what I said. The best things I do sound very simple.
Yes, I do remember.
Okay, so do these make sense to you? These concepts?
Yes.
So, also, I mean, now what are the other? I don't want to just stop right now. I want to give you a couple more things. Now? If the main market is young kids starting in life, that's not all of the market. What are the other segments of the market? What are the other subordinate or lesser markets? What are they?
Apart from the young people, perhaps people who have already got their license but don't actually drive and need to take lessons again, or people who have been in accidents, car accidents. And sometimes companies also bring people in for safe driving lessons.
Okay, so let's take that concept three ways. If in the off season right now, before you fill all the time, you sent your driver trainers to companies in those off seasons, and they did presentations and lectures free on improving your driving.
Right.
And then they offered special refresher packages, and you scheduled them if every day, if your driver trainers are only being used in the slow season, half time, and they're not being used the other half time, but they're being paid half time, you could say, I'll tell you what, take the car and we're going to schedule you to do 2 presentations a day on the half time you're not working. And you're going to do 2 hour-long presentations on a refresher course, a quick start reminder of better driving, and then we're going to offer a special shortened course for people who want to come back and improve their driving. And if you sell it, you'll get a commission. And use your people. You're already paying them anyhow. I like that too, don't you?
Hi.
I like that.
Yes.
People who've had accidents. In the States, I don't know about here. In the States, there are 2 or 3 categories of information access. One is what's called public. It's public record, but it's a different word for it. But you can get those lists. If you can get the list of everybody who has an accident, because it's public record, you could have a mailing program that basically writes to them like a week or 2 after. And, there's certain, some of them could have horrible accidents, but the odds are most accidents aren't that bad. And if the letter said, we saw that you had an accident, we are sorry for you. We hope the damage to your car and your loved ones was not bad. But we'd like to extend, because driving today in Japan has gotten more stressful, because of all that's going on. The other drivers are more inattentive. You're probably a great driver, but it's possible they're not, they're texting or doing whatever. And we've developed accelerated methods to help you be the better driver you can in a volatile driving environment. And if you think it might help, because you don't want to repeat an accident like this, you want to be more aware, more defensive, more everything, we offer a special course. And if you sent that to, if those names are public record and you can get it, and the segments of buyers that come to you. You know the reasons they come to you. If the main reason are kids, young adults right before they're going into the workforce, then you deal with that. But if 20% are people who had accidents, and 10% are companies that are sending people, and 10% are people who, are sort of retraining themselves, then you can develop proactive programs for those, but target it very carefully to the people who represent being the best prospects. Does that make sense?
Yes. Well, I been working on that, but so far I haven't been able to execute it well enough to attract new students.
And what does, because we're both not struggling, but we're both dependent. It's not a criticism of the translator, but sometimes I'm not sure of exactly what you mean. When I hear you say you haven't executed it right, I'm not sure if that means you've tried many attempts and they haven't worked, or you haven't known what attempt to make. Can you clarify that for me?
Yes, paper drivers, we have been doing that. We have been offering lessons to the paper drivers. And then also we have been approaching those who went through an accident, but we didn't really have good solicitation of the students. And instead, I realized that we came to a conclusion that probably it's better, we will be better off attracting new students rather than trying to return those former students.
And you may be right, you may be wrong. Most people don't try enough variation in their marketing, but I want to remind you, and it's maybe not me being rude, we're repeating what you told me your market was. If a portion of your market are people who are coming anyhow to get retrained, and if a portion of your market are people who are coming anyhow because they had an accident, and if a portion of your market are companies anyhow selling it, and they're coming to you automatically, and in the off season, when you've got 50% non-utilization, it probably makes sense to try harder in a number of ways. For example, if I were going to try to, again, I can't promise what I'm going to share with you is perfection, but if I were trying to reach somebody after they'd had an accident and I could get the name, the first thing I would have is a letter that looked very sort of not official but important, and it would have something very modest on the outside that would say, referencing the car accident you just suffered. That's all it would say, so that it would get opened, and then it would be referring to that. Now, I don't know that it'll work. All I know is that I'm not trying to take you down a path that you don't want to go down, but I am trying to tell you, I asked you, where does your business come from? And you said most comes from the young adults who are getting ready, to go into adulthood and work. But some comes from companies that send it. Some comes from people who had accidents. Some comes from people who want to get retrained. If that is true, and most of those people you can reach without much cost, it's worth, if the market, if that market is coming to you anyhow without you going after them, and you said you went to cab drivers, but that probably is the least, because my experience with cab drivers, they're closed-minded, they're arrogant, and they probably aren't the best prospect. But you might see, if you look back at the people that came who had accidents, if you look back at the people who came from companies, if you look back at the people who got retrained, there might be a profile to them that even gives you one more dimension of focus. Maybe you'll see that they're all people who are they're salespeople who drive all over, or they just change. I mean, something that'll help you even isolate more. But keep in mind, and I mean this from the heart, you have the problem that in the good season you got too much business, in the bad season you have too little, And your overhead is borne by the inequity. If you can fill the gap, that gap could be twice your profit. That gap could be the most profitable business you can get. And you'll remember that my basic recommendation is always don't spend a lot of time or money. If you have to spend money because you can't find a partner, spend a little bit, but try a bunch of different approaches. If you can avoid spending money, find a partner, and instead of spending fixed money, pay them a variable. And I have to stop, but I hope this gives you some good ideas.
Thank you so much. I will give it a try.
A lot of times, we unintentionally, let me choose the right word, we disserve ourselves because we think we've done a lot, but we really haven't done very much. Or we think what we did was the only way or the best way or the right way when it was really not. One of the books that I read when I was young was called Reality in Advertising. I doubt if it even could be found. It was out of print 30 years ago, but it was all this data that the former president or CEO of J. Walter Thompson Advertising did, and they did all this research, and one of the pieces of research they found was that certain marketing and advertising communication, it wasn't, I said this the other day, it wasn't even neutral. It wasn't like it had no effect, it had a negative effect. So we could accidentally have tried the wrong thing and think there's no market. My job is to be a mirror to people of what they know that they don't know they know, that they haven't really acted on in the best way or in every way or in the most impactful way. Does that make sense?
Yes, I understand. I will explore possibilities. Thank you so much.
Bye. I appreciate it. No problem. Okay. You're in the beginning stages of a new business, correct? Yes, surely. No problem. Not work. You don't have a... Start again. No problem. What, you want to give him mine? No, he's the one that's got the bad one. But that's okay. I'm getting old and senile. Might have been me. I thought it was he. Okay. Does that work? Okay. So you are just starting or getting prepared to start a new business, correct?
Yes, we just started the business.
Tell me about the business you want to start. If you don't mind, I'd like to ask a prefacing question. Tell me the business or that you're either leaving or what else you are doing or have been doing, so I know a little bit about, your background and your history.
Hi.
Yes. I used to work for a trading company, and at that time, I was handling the joint venture of the national projects and trading.
Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry. It's like translator city. Okay.
Yeah, he used to work for a trading company, and at that time he was in charge of the joint ventures at the national levels.
So big. Okay. And so now, are you going to go full time into this new business?
Hi.
Yes, that's my intent.
Okay. All right. So describe for me the business, or at least the direction you're considering and why, and then and what it would do or what you want the business to do, and a little bit about the vision, and then tell me the question or the questions you want me to answer.
Yes, my goal is, it's quite, there are people who are struggling to be recognized, and we want to give them opportunity to help them satisfy their needs for self-recognition so that they can succeed in themselves. So we want them to teach, to gain the tips to be successful. So the reason why I want to start is because I was raised in domestic violent families, and I repeatedly be suicidal. And then my attempts was failed, and that's the reason why I'm still alive. And actually, I was that person who was never recognized because I was poor at everything. However, in the previous company that I worked for, there were people who was good at complimenting me, giving me, praising me, and then I was left to a big project, and I worked on the 7 joint ventures, and then 2 or 3 years I worked on them, and I worked about that size of the project, 10 or 20 or so.
And then there are bosses who didn't recognize me when I encountered those bosses. I wasn't able to do other, like responsible jobs. I had that time in my life too. So in such situation, you can't just quit the office just because you don't enjoy it. There are so many people out there. But I want them to be lively and then enjoy their jobs. So in order to do that, if the bosses, I want them to be a professional at complimenting their subordinates. That's what I want to do.
So would your target market then be managers?
Yes, managers or store managers. Or managers, I mean.
Who manages subordinates, and so you want to teach them how to, and I have a phrase, instead of squeezing everything out of somebody, you want to teach them how to grow and how to develop everything within their people. You want to teach them how to make their people greater, so the people will feel great about themselves and their performance will excel, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And so do you have right now, have you created a methodology or a technology or any body of work that you would be teaching, or are you putting it together right now?
Not yet. I am working on it right now.
Let me ask you a different question. Does there exist anywhere in the world quality work like this that may not be ever translated into Japanese that you could get the rights to for Japan, and then you could add your name as a co-author and expedite and accelerate your ability to do this?
If there is an opportunity, I should be able to do that.
Yeah, see, I bet that you'll find, if you'd spend some time looking, that there are some great works that maybe not even be doing very much, because a lot of people are not very good marketers, but in the States that would never even make it over here, that you could go and use relational capital and say, look, I want to license it. I'm going to add my body of work or my name. It'll be co-authored just in Japan by us. And maybe you can find 5 different modules that already exist, that all you'll have to do is pay to translate, which might be expensive, but it could mean you could start your business right away rather than having to think through and create and perfect. And then your job would be to evolve upon that And because right now you're going to, and like I was explaining relational capital, it took me forever to think, okay, what do I think about it? Okay, what do I need? What's this? And I'm still working on it. And there's no shame in it taking you a long time. But while you may be developing your own original thesis, you could probably get control ethically of some very worthwhile work that people have done that most people can't market well. So you can find websites and books and seminars and CDs and DVDs all over the place that really are, some of them are very profound, but nobody buys them because the people don't know how to sell them. And you could probably take those with acknowledgement, combine them with yours, and create an integrated body of work that would be both, passive, meaning you could sell it like facilitated or home study, or you could integrate it and make it presentations or a coaching or a consulting very quickly, and it could be a fast-track start for you, and it can give you clarity. You might say, well, I really like the stuff that Jordan Abraham did, but I think I can do better. Well, that's okay, because I was using the quote the other day and nobody knew it, but it's a quote from, is it Homer, Jordan, in the Odyssey? In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. When everybody's blind, if a guy's got one eye, he's got a lot more. If there's no methodology yet that you have, and it's going to take you 6 or 9 months to create it, and if you're not working right now and you are using your capital to support yourself, you may be rich, and I hope you are, but if instead tomorrow morning with translation, you could start and build an integrative first stage process that you could always either refine, improve, or replace, that'll let you get helping. It could let you help more people right away. And with everything you started with, that maybe it wasn't totally yours, but you could have the right, and I'm sure no one would mind it. I just let an insurance publisher take my strategy of preeminence, and he made it better for insurance people. So if you got the rights for Japan to 5 different components, you don't have to use it literally. It would stimulate maybe your thinking of what you really believe, and you could say, well, I like that, but he didn't take it all the way. I see now I can add this to it, and it becomes more an extension of who you are, if that makes sense.
Yes, I learned a lot. I understand it very deeply. So using or borrowing the other person's asset, is that right?
And there's 2 or 3 ways to do it. One is the asset just in its content. The other is the asset in terms of the relationship. For example, I have a young man that I've helped in the United States, and he's a sales trainer. And he has great sales training, but he has no book. And he can't seem to write a book. Another friend of mine, who happens to be one of his other mentors, wrote 20 books. 20 books. And his first book was a great book. It was probably the best book, but it's out of print now. But it is almost timeless in its worth. It has about 10% that is out of date, but about 90% that's still timeless. And this guy who wrote it has a worldwide reputation. So I had the young man who had no book make a deal with the older man who had 20 books to take his first book that was out of print, that was 90% useful and timely, but 10% out of date, co-author it with him, and the young man fixed the 10% that was bad, and now he's got not only a book, but he gets to use the other man's reputation. You might find somebody in the States, or 5 people in the States that have great stories, great reputations, and now, besides using their body of work, you put your name with it, you get accelerated in starting to do what you want to do, but you also get to use all this credibility and say in the United States, Jordan Abraham has sold 10 million books. He's helped more managers. Now his work in conjunction with yours is coming here, and you can rename it, give it a proprietary name that distinguishes some kind of a unique new thesis or synthesis that is yours. Does that make sense?
At this point, I'm not really confident if I can do it or not, but I want to do it.
Well, let me give you some good news. The good news is when I wrote my first book, I was paid, and this is long ago, I was paid about $300,000 US as an advance for the US version. I was paid $8,000 for the Japanese version because it's not that considered that valuable. Most books in the States never ever make it to most other countries. Many books, and now another thing that's even more interesting, there are a ton of bright people all over the world. In the United States, there are a ton of very bright people, not unlike yourself, who had very stellar careers, who realized they had a very distinctive understanding, and who now, because of publishing on demand, created a book themselves. And they probably never sold more than 10 copies. But it could be a great book. So if you research, and if it's too much trouble for you, instead of spending the next 8 months building your content and using your capital to subsidize yourself, spend maybe $1,000 on a researcher from India and have them do all the research for you. Give them all the different kinds of ways this might exist and have them find all the books, all the websites, all the seminars, all the DVDs, all the CDs, and then have them organize it, and then you can look at it and find the ones that are the least high reputation, mean the ones that aren't very prominent people, and start there with your attempts to negotiate, because if you don't succeed there, then you haven't lost anything. And as you get more confidence and more certainty, then you go to the bigger ones. Does that make sense? But the best thing for you, there's a we call it a factoid. It's a fact that the body of knowledge and the body of work that exists in the world is doubling every 6 months. Now, what that means to you is that between what already existed and look at what you're doing, and then multiply what you're doing by 1 million. Because there are probably 1 million people in the world now, or more, who are realizing their existential desire to complete themselves for their legacy. They want to do more than just make money. So they're writing books, or they're trying to do things. And most of them are terrible marketers, so the books don't go anywhere. But there's all this body of work that you can access. It doesn't matter if you can't win every time you try to negotiate with somebody. I'll bet anything, when you were doing strategic alliances and partnerships, you had to adjust. Every one of them didn't work the first time, and every one of them didn't say yes the first time, did they? And there were probably a couple of them that didn't work. Either your company didn't want to do, or they didn't want to do them. The other company didn't want to do them with you, but you still were successful in the ones you did. So the numbers will work for you. Just don't be intimidated. I swear to you, that will accelerate your ability to help people. Does that make sense?
Yes. So strategic partnership or alliance, and then start with a small test repetitively.
Just to get to, I ask you the question, do you have any body of work. And you said, no, I'm trying to create it. And I just, remember that? So that, what we've been talking about has been a strategy to accelerate and expand an immediate body of work for you so you have some quality content that you can build on. Now, back to how to deliver it. Let me give you a fast track strategy and a story that'll help you. Stephen R. Covey, the one who did the 7 Habits, wonderful man. He built an entire company for Franklin Covey. They had the 7 Habits training program. He came up with a 7 Habits advanced training program. They licensed companies to have their own facilitators. They came up with an advanced version. But after a while, they saturated, because all he had was 7 Habits and a bunch of variations of the 7 Habits. So Franklin Covey had this big relationships with all these big corporations. They had all these corporations that had licensed facilitators, but the corporations had saturated 7 Habits. So Franklin Covey had a big problem. They needed a new methodology to put down that distribution network. So my friend Greg Link and Stephen Covey's son, Stephen M.R. Covey, came out with a book called The Speed of Trust. And The Speed of Trust was a whole new series of methodologies that Franklin Covey bought from them because they needed new things to put through their distribution. Now, I am telling you this story for a reason. I just gave you the first part, which was how to get methodology very quickly for yourself. So now you'll have methodology. But methodology without the marketplace is useless, because you'd have the same problem as the other people. They got the body of work, but they have no clients. So how do you get clients fast? Let me tell you. You study every corporate trainer, every consultant, every coach in Japan that you can identify that specializes in one category. The reason is, once they have sold that one category of expertise to a corporation, they have nothing else to sell. Like, let's say that I'm Jay Abraham sales trainer. After I've sold sales training to Mitsubishi or to ABC Corporation, maybe I can sell you advanced selling, but that's all I've got. I have nothing else to sell, so I got to find a new client. However, Mitsubishi or whoever I sold it to, they liked me, they trusted me, they're using my sales training. So if you go to me and say, Jay, introduce my new methodology to your old client, and we will partner on the profits. And if you do that with 10 or 15 single topic specialists who already sold whatever they had to sell to the corporation, and they have nothing new, but they have very good relationships and goodwill, that will accelerate your ability to get the client. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes,
The problem. You've got the methodology solved, and then you don't have to call cold. Call on salespeople that have already sold to everybody they can sell to. Call on, sales trainers. Call on management people. Call on, everybody that's a specialist, because by the nature, once a specialist has delivered his or her specialty, they have nothing else to sell, but they have the relationships that they can then turn over to you. They can call their old clients and say, there's somebody I want you to meet. He's got something no one else has. He's going to help your managers empower and enrich your team members. He's going to help you get 20 or 30 or 40% more performance out of them. He's going to reduce your attrition. Does that make sense? Yes?
はい。
Yes.
Is that enough, or do you need to ask me anything else?
はい。今のことに関して、全ての、同業者ですね。
For example, you talked about coaches and speakers and so on, all of them. But I think it's quite difficult to research every single one of them. So how about just focusing on one single area and seeing how many there are there?
Yeah, I mean, let me tell all of you this. Whenever you sit up here with me, you are forced to listen to what I would do. I'm going to go home to Los Angeles in 3 days. When I'm gone, you get to do whatever you would do. My job is to expand your paradigm. Your job is to decide what you want to do. Here's like a compromise. My reason for saying everyone, I don't really mean it literally. I mean it figuratively. I'm saying get someone to research for you maybe 100 specialists, maybe 100 coaches, maybe 100 trainers, and just talk to them because you only need a few. If you go after 300, here's the good news. I'll tell you what I always told people. They would always say, well, most of them would say no. And I'd say, I don't necessarily agree, but let's say you're right. Let's say that most of them say no. If you go after 300 people who have relationships they can no longer use profitably with corporations, and they have trust, and they have economic need because they like to make money, and most of them say no to you, what is most of them? Is it 80%? Is it 90%? Okay, so if 90% of them say no, then you're saying 10% will say yes. That's 30 people. That's 30 coaches or consultants. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
You have another question? I'm going to have to stop it. I'm sorry. I hope this is helpful.
もう一つ、
One more thing. You talked about the specifics, and you're talking about training and the training market and the training industry, company training industry. I feel like it's already matured. If I am trying to enter that market, I want to create a niche market, or I want to find a niche market. So is there any other strategy, that I could use as a late starter?
And then I have to stop. Do a vertical. Go to a magazine or an association that has lots of members all over Japan that have lots of employees, like retail categories or service people who have tire dealerships, or any vertical organization where they can endorse you. For example, then I got to stop. I had a client once, and he went to 2 organizations. He went to people who made corrugated boxes, and apparently they make corrugated boxes in every state. He went to the Corrugated Box Association, and he went to the Printers Ink Association, and they sponsored him working with people in 50 different states, and he made $5 million just doing specialized versions to those industries. Does that help?
はい。
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I like your clothes.
Thank you.
You got a nice suit. Got it? Okay. So, is it one restaurant or a bunch of restaurants?
6。
Six.
one city or all over Japan?
限られた
It's only in a small area.
And what kind of restaurants are they?
中華とイタリアン
Chinese and Italian restaurants.
I mean, high end, what?
いやまあ一般
No, just normal restaurants.
All right. So you've got a mailing list of 22,000 people, right? Oh, good. Thank
そう
you.
です
Yes.
And let me ask you this question. Got it? How often right now do you use that list? And what do you use it for right now?
今回のセミナーに参加
Participating in this seminar, I realized I was wondering what kind of hidden assets I have. And I remembered that I had a lot of, I had a huge mailing list.
ちょっとそこ飲食に関して
And I'm just the owner of this business, and I'm not really sure about the details, so I don't.
All right, well, so knowing that you're not day-to-day manager, that you own them but you don't run them, let me give you some macro ideas, okay? So the first thing is you use the mailing list or the database, and if you got it emailed too, you can get apps where you can send your clients specials and notifications on, let's say that certain days of the week in certain restaurants are empty and other days are filled. Well, you can send them special. I mean, the mailing list costs more to mail, but if you also have the email list and you can also get their mobile, you can send them notifications of specials. You can, a lot of people make decisions, like we're going to an Italian restaurant and we decided it about 2 hours ago. We could have decided a French restaurant, or we could have decided a Chinese restaurant. But that decision, because there's 5 of us, is a $400 transaction. And some of that's wine, so it's probably a $200 profit that went to one and the other. So if you, first of all, analyze, I always say, find out what you know that you don't know you know. And so what do you know that you don't know you know? Days, times, people come all the time, times you're slow. You can use your mailing list to introduce people from one restaurant to another restaurant. Think about that. Because people like, I go out and we get tired of going to the same restaurant. So sometimes we'll go to a European restaurant, then we'll go to a Chinese restaurant, then we'll go to an Italian restaurant, go to see. If you have 5 restaurants, but do they all know that you own them all? Does everybody know that you own all the restaurants? Are they all the same name?
皆さんって誰ですか
Who are you talking about when you say they?
With the consumers, obviously your staff does, but do the consumers know, are they all different names? The restaurants, are they all different named?
はいついてないです
Yeah, no. So nobody knows that I'm the owners of these restaurants.
Think about this. Each restaurant can promote your other restaurants. Do you understand that? If one restaurant's really filled all the time and one restaurant isn't, think about it. Most people, and again, I don't know Japanese taste, but the reason you have lots of different restaurants here is probably the reason we have lots of different restaurants in the States. We get tired of one kind of food. So I don't care. I like great Italian. We're going to Italian also. But I get tired of too much of it, so then I want sushi. Then I can't have sushi. I'm too tired of it. I want fish. Then I want regular fish. Then I want like broiled fish. Then I want something else. Well, if you've got 6 restaurants, the first thing to do, if they're not always filled, is promote each other. Have one say, you like Chinese, if you ever go out for Italian, we got an Italian restaurant that's extraordinary, and because you're one of our valued clients, here's a certificate, we'll buy you a glass of wine when you go to the Italian restaurant because we want you to get to know our other sister restaurant. And that'd be the first thing I would do, back and forth. But I would only do it to the restaurants that are the slowest, or I would only do it for days or times that are going to be the lightest so that they give the most value to you. Does that make sense? Second is you can promote events if the restaurants are appropriate for it. You might, and you could do this to all your lists. You could, maybe one of the restaurants has banquet facilities, or could do parties or birthdays or weddings, and maybe maybe the Chinese restaurant doesn't have that facility, but it's got loyal people, so you could send. And none of these, I wouldn't send 22,000 letters on AM. I'd do a little test first, but you could promote the fact that a lot of times people do what ideas they are programmed to do. You might say a lot of our and you can do it for any of the 5, 6 restaurants or all. A lot of our clients don't know that we do great parties. And then I'd say birthday parties for young adults, great parties for adults, wedding parties, anniversary parties. We're telling you this because if you've got an event coming up, before you don't schedule it, or before you schedule it the wrong place, you already know we care about our clients. You already know we got great food. What you don't know is we got great party and banquet, not just facilities, but prices, and the experience is wonderful. Give us a call because we can create a memorable event, you and your family or you and your loved ones, and program them for that. And do it on the times that, say we have specials on Sunday afternoons or whenever the restaurants are the least used. You can do cross promotions with other people that have lists that you would like to be restaurant clients. So you could say to somebody that maybe has high-end dress or clothing, that you can say, how many clients have you got on your mailing list? Maybe they've got 3,000. He said, tell you what, if you'll send 3,000 of them a letter and a certificate from you about one of our restaurants or all of our restaurants, whatever you want, we'll send a letter to 3,000 of our people for you. And you could even do something better. If it's a very desirable place, maybe they have a higher echelon or a higher quality of buyer that you really want, you can say, if you'll send 3,000 to your list, we'll send 5,000 to our list. And reciprocate. You can use your facilities on the days or the times of the day that are light to do events for other people. For example, Learning Edge and people like them do previews, and they do entry-level seminars. A lot of financial planners do seminars. You can write to people and say, not only can we make our restaurant available in the afternoon or in the early evening or on Tuesdays whenever it's the lightest for you and the least busy, we have a package that if you book at least a minimum of blank, we'll let you use our mailing list to do. And we've got our mailing list by geography, so you've got another valuable asset. Does that make sense? Let me think of some more. Is this helpful? Good. I like your tie. Let me think of...
Thank you.
It's very nice. Let me think of some other things you can do with your mailing list. You can trade. I didn't get into barter, but you should love barter because you have 6 restaurants. You have incremental cost on food which aren't very high. You've got the ability, if you think of anything that you would normally buy for the restaurant or buy, you seem like you have other businesses, for other businesses, you can trade food credits for that at full retail. So let's say that I can't remember, what's the other business he has? Was it the massage? What was it? I don't remember. What's your other business?
Cram school, the successful school for kids.
So let's say that you wanted to promote that on the radio, the cram school. But you didn't want to pay for radio advertising. So you could go to the radio station and you could say, I'll tell you what, you give us $5,000 a month in radio advertising for our cram school, and we'll give you $5,000 worth of credit that you can take clients to, or you can give away on the air as gifts at our restaurants. Does that make sense? Because if you do that, most people, I mean, the cost, I don't know what your food cost is, but if it's only credited for food, not for wine, it's not going to cost you that much, but you're going to get what you want for you, so you can use it as a commodity of exchange, but the cost is going to be this low. Does that make sense? And you can trade credits for food for a lot of other things. And you can stipulate that the credit can only be used certain days, certain times, when you're light, when it's not going to take cash business away from you. So you can do that. If you could do a little research and find out a little more about your buyers, then you could do more with your list. I mean, if you know that half your buyers live in the most desirable communities, or they are executives at the biggest companies, then all of a sudden that has a lot more value than just a bunch of restaurant people. So the more you can get your managers to sort of share with you detail about the profile, the demographics, the distinctions of different kinds of buyers at the different restaurants, that could make it much more valuable. In other words, if you said to Satoshi, we have a relationship with every senior executive at every publicly traded company because they come in for lunch at our restaurant, that list is worth a fortune. Do you understand that? And we've got their address at their office, and they'll take our letter. That's got about 1,000,000 times more value than just saying we've got a list of restaurant buyers. So you need to do a little research. Does that help?
I see.
最後のは
Well, the last part, well, it's a system to gather many members. So the nickname and the mobile phone mail address, those are the only attributes that we have in that system. So
Email?
イメールじゃないです
it's not exactly mobile phone email addresses.
Legally here, you can send me notices and texts. Are these, so if they're opted in, you can do that. Okay. So would these all be opted in and they'd be able to receive? So there are, and I don't know what they are. Yes, there are some really cool apps that if you get all your when they come in, start having them, I don't know what the apps are, but I know there's some cool apps where you can let them know specials. Like you can, let's say today at this restaurant, it's slow. Let's say that you're only half filled. You can do an app that you can have them download an app, and if they have it, you can send them and say, in the next 3 hours, we're going to do a special where it's 2 steaks plus a bottle of wine for just that. And you can have a lot. I've seen people do that. It moves a lot of people who weren't necessarily going to go out or going to go to make that decision. So you need to do some research, because I don't know what they are, but there's some really neat apps for the texting and the mobile. Just make sure that they're opted in. I don't know enough about your laws, but yeah, I mean, whatever you have, as long as they've given you the right to communicate with them, it's an asset. And again, I don't have enough knowledge, and today I don't have enough time to go deep enough, but what you got to do is value the fact that depending on, first thing is, you can use it to help your other restaurants. So one restaurant can promote the other 4. And if they don't know that they're all sister restaurants, you can do that. You can promote each restaurant at specific times. For example, if Tuesday it's empty at the Italian, but it's okay at the Chinese, you can have the Chinese send all its people, say, tonight our sister restaurant in, 2 blocks away is having a special on dinner for 4. I mean, so you can promote a lot of that. And incrementally, that kind of sale is very, very profitable because it's all windfall profit for you. Does that make sense? Yeah. So does that help you? Any last question?
No questions.
And thank you very much. I like you, and I do like your tie. Thank you very much. Okay. He gets a second set of two pictures, double pictures. That's funny. Here you are.
That there is a low energy in the room. This is the last one, so please raise your energy. Can I ask you a question? Can I make a request, Mori-san, so that you give energy to everyone?
You're funny. Okay, so I'm going to ask.
Excuse me.
I'm going to ask you some questions, and I'm going to make a point, and the point I'm going to make is going to sound negative, but it's not meant to be. But I got to make a point, and you know what it's going to be, Satoshi. But I want to help you immensely. I have a bad experience with this man, and he's not one of my favorite people. So I want to help you immensely, but I don't really have any great desire to help this man because I don't like his ethos. So I'm just going to go on record as saying that. All right? So you tell me exactly what your business is. Tell me, look at that. I like your shoes. Look at that. It's got my shoes on. Same shoe. Tell me what your business, tell everybody what your business is. Tell everybody what your big question is for me, and then let's work to get you a great answer.
Well, it's been resolved.
By the last person, honest to God, I've done so many of these. By the time the last person comes up, I've answered so many other questions that they don't really need any. And it's not taking advantage of them. It's like they hear the answer 12 times. But that's okay. Tell us your business for a minute. Because I want to help you. I just don't, that person is not somebody I want to help, but I want to help you a lot.
I understand. So can I talk about my story? I also have a story. In 2008, when you were here, I went through your program. And then when you're here, several months before, always there is an earthquake in my office. So that means a tipping point in my office. What exactly happened is that in 2008, before I went through the seminar, my company was deviating from the right track. So and when I went through your seminar, I implemented and then I turned around my company's situation. Like dramatic change.
Makes me very happy. Very cool. Good.
And then this year, again, to be honest, I went through Torichi-san's seminar, and again, I went through another change. I'm not advertising, by the way. Anyway, this is my 21st anniversary in my business.
It's wonderful.
So yeah, I started my first company when I was 20 years old, and Hishida-san was saying that there was a political situation, I think it was like 11 years old.
で僕は人材のアウトソーシング
It was I had a difficult time making loans from the banks, and I was making payments on a daily basis. And I at one point, 500 to 600 people were paid from me. So therefore, I needed a working capital of 5 million to 6 million yen at that time. But because of the experience, I'm where I am. So now that I remembered, and I couldn't stop crying. So anyway, that was the situation that I had at that time. And because of the earthquake, I wanted to make a contribution to the society, and that's the reason why I started the seminar business. And I was about to begin it on a large scale. And then my personal relationship. Actually, I made 2 failures in personal relationship, and I made the first one 11 years ago. I lost trust in people in general, and actually joint venture, I made 2 failures in joint venture too. So I was wondering what's going on. And 7 or 8 years ago, I had an opportunity to go through Omori-san's seminar, and I, for the first time, opened up myself to him. And now I am attending the seminar and looking back the past 5 years. Jay, I mean, you're just wonderful. You are so profound. The seminar is so deep and so in-depth. And the fact that you are holding this in Japan, and I had the luck to be able to be part of this great event. I'm just so overwhelmed.
失礼します
I mean, it's very deserving on all your parts, and I'm grateful to be here with quality people. So it's very good. So is the seminar business your main business now? Okay, and so what can we do right now to give you a great breakthrough? I want to give you a breakthrough. You've had 2 great breakthroughs. It sounds like you got your business back on track. And by the way, all of you, if you bought like the home study or the facilitated, you really need to watch it over and over again for 3 reasons. Reason 1, most people don't do much of anything the first time. Reason 2, you're not the same person at different intervals. Good in, you evolve, you grow, you get setbacks. Number 3 is you remember what you stopped doing too. Sometimes you'll do something great that works, and then you'll stop doing it, and it reminds you to get back on track. So it's got, and you already paid for it. I'm not making any money telling you to rewatch it and rewatch it and rewatch it. I'm just saying rewatch it. But what can I do for you right now to give you your 3rd breakthrough? Give you another, you go back for another 5 years of Zoom.
Well, right now, I'm trying to change myself, and that is, I really want to communicate to others, so disseminate the information to others. Over the past 8 years, every day, basically 300 days, I've been taking seminars, and it's been like this for the past 8 years.
Wow.
Really.
でそれの
And so the input of the seminars, now that the I shouldn't have said that because of the earthquake, I think I changed. I felt the change in myself. I never even thought about doing the volunteer, but I did that right after the earthquake on the following day. I never did the fundraising, but I did that. I found myself standing in front of the Shinjuku station, collecting money, collecting donations for the victims. So I hate to be so rude, but I never put myself in that kind of position. So I started to feel the change in me. And the other day in my life, the young gentleman Obara-kun, when you said that what can I do for him, I just said that go ahead and call me. I don't need any guarantee. I don't need any money. I offered myself to him. And I just started it, and then just doing something for others. Like I'm compelled to do that. I learned so much. So I want to help grow the next generation. So I want to customize what I learned, and that's the reason why I would like to start the seminars, and so that I can change the young people. And if I can get the opportunity to do so, I will be honored.
Okay, so let me give you a strategy, but let me give you an admonishment. The admonishment is not you. Be very qualitative in the people you promote. Make sure the people you promote share the values and the ethos and the respect and desire to really make the same difference that you do. If you ask me what would be the most valuable thing you could do for your country, and that if it works you could take it all over the world, helping grow and develop entrepreneurs. In our world today, in the United States, you got, half of the kids who get out of high school don't go to college. 40% of the kids who go to college don't finish college. Half of the kids that get out of college can't get a good job. Half of the people right now in the United States that have jobs, older people, your age, my age, those jobs are going to be made obsolete by technology. And those people are not going to be old enough to retire or financially secure enough to just do nothing, and they're going to either have to get retrained or be entrepreneurs. If you look at emerging countries, India, China, Malaysia, there's a crying demand for people to learn how to be successful entrepreneurs, how to learn how to start a business, add value, build a business, not waste your capital or the capital of your investors. Some countries, not the third world, but some countries, the parents would gladly pay. Other countries, even if you didn't make a lot in the beginning, if you built entrepreneurs, you could grow with them. If you want my honest opinion, develop, because no one's got anything like that, build a program not just to help existing business people, but to grow real entrepreneurs. Because what happens now, I don't know about Japan, but in the United States, there's thousands of people selling business opportunity, how to be an internet marketer and this, but that's not really the full scope of how to start a business, how to grow clients, how to grow an organization, how to build trust, how to add value, how to differentiate yourself from your competitors, how to manage, how to develop talent. If you can create that, I would think in every country, including here, that would be extraordinary. But if you do it, and again, be careful, because you can get impressed with speakers who don't share your values. And you can get into a point where you find out that you're sort of in bed with somebody you don't want to be sleeping with. And that's not good. It sounds to me, just from your very heartfelt discussion, that you're a man of very high ideals. You're at a point in your life where it's important to you to do something that really meaningfully, not just contributes, but has an impact on some segment of society in your country or otherwise, and is something that you can be very proud of. Again, do anything you want, but if you want to focus on an area that desperately needs a champion, an advocate, and has got enormous impact on our world's future. Grow entrepreneurs. If you can do that, but grow them with the right partners. Be very careful, because a lot of good people and there's a lot of people who aren't so good. Choose your partners and the people you promote well. But if you do that, I think you'll be very successful.
Understood.
Okay. You want to ask anything else?
そうですね。
Well, actually, I'm embarrassed to say this, but I don't think it's the right environment to say this. I don't have any friends. And I was a whole to summoner, but I couldn't ask anyone to endorse me. I mean, other people had like long, lengthy lists, but not me. Like, I know you have, you are so wise, so would you please give me a piece of advice?
The greatest way, first of all, if you don't, it means one of three things. And I'm going to be very clinical. Either you've been so busy driving yourself that you haven't stopped to really be part of the process. I'm going to tell you something very interesting in a minute. Number two, it means maybe in your previous life you weren't a nice person and maybe your ideals weren't that good. I'm just telling you. Number three, it means that what I said about greatness, you've never understood it. So let me start by telling you a very true story. About, oh God, I don't know, 15 years ago, I spent $500,000 on therapy. I went to a psychologist, and I used to pay for him all day. I didn't like going for 45 minutes. I would just basically say, okay, all day for a week, I'm here. And if I didn't go, I would send other crazy friends in my place. But I would talk and talk and talk and try to understand why I was so frustrated. And he finally said something that took 5 minutes, but it transformed my life. And it's why I don't mind sitting here if we needed to till 11, although I'm very tired. He said, most people in life are obsessed with the wrong goal. They're product and end result oriented. They want to be the most successful. They want to make $1 million. They want to have the prettiest wife. They want to have a Rolls Royce, Bentley. They want to have the biggest house. They want to have the fastest growing public company. If you are unlucky enough to achieve that for that reason only, you're going to be very frustrated. It's anticlimactic. That isn't going to give you joy and happiness. He said, the process is what life is all about. This conversation is as good as it gets. And it's very touching to me to be having it with you, because I'm in a place where maybe I can inspire you. But if we're in the lobby and we're talking to the housekeeper, that's just as fulfilling to me. So the first thing for you is understand that everybody is important, and you should invest in others first. Understand that the greatest way to build friends is to be interested, to start asking questions, being interested in them. The next part is to be vulnerable. Vulnerable means not being afraid to have flaws, not being afraid not to know. The third is earn friendship. Friendship is a byproduct. It's like it takes time. And if you don't know how to do it, or you've never done it, then you have to invest. And it means not trying to do it to make friends, doing it to enjoy the process of interacting with human beings and enjoying the experience and slowing down. You might have been a very driven man. I don't know what you did in your earlier life. I don't know your background. But the rest of your life starts right now. So enjoy people, smile, engage, make a difference. Somebody said, and I think I said it the other day, any time two people come together for any reason, your job is to make their life better off because they're in it. What's better off mean? It can mean anything. It's like I'm talking and you're doing this. If you talk to me and I do that, what you're doing that tells me you hear me. So you make me feel fulfilled. If you talk and I do that, that means I hear you. If I smile at you and we have eye contact, that makes you feel more fulfilled. So you do little things, but you don't, if you do them consciously, it's manipulative. The other thing I would say to you is you probably do have friends. You might just not slow down enough to know it. If you're a good man in your heart and you're a giving man, you've got friends. Maybe you don't even know who they are yet. You got all these people in the world that need someone to care about them. You need all these people that need someone to be interested in them. And you got all these experiences to share and all these contributions to make. And just start doing it. But sometimes we try to outthink it so much that we can't do it. I mean, everyone that I know is hilarious. I had a partner once, and we'd do seminars. And he'd go to his room, and he would rehearse, and he would practice, and he would present it for hours and days beforehand. And I would just make a PowerPoint. And he'd say, how can you do that? And I'd say, it's not about me. It's about them. We're interacting. If I screw it up, I'll tell them and we'll fix it. Because I love people and I want people to not necessarily love me, but love that they're growing from the experience. And your subconscious will guide you. All you have to do is care about the betterment of others and not try to outthink it. And just start experiencing life. You might have been somebody who was so hard driving and so worried about what you were doing and how it worked and how it looked and how it executed that you could never be automatic and natural and authentic. So I'd say, stop thinking about it. Be a nice, good person who cares more about others than yourself, but there's no shame in being rewarded for adding value and getting paid. But make friends by being interested in them. It's not about how you look. It's not about how you sound. It's not about how cool your life is. It's not about how your clothes are. It's about how much value you add to the experience. And if you start doing that, it'll work out. I don't know if that helps. Does that help you? Okay, we're done. Thank you. Thank you. It'll be okay. It'll be fine. Just be careful of that guy. Wore me out. You wore me out. But that stated, I'd like to hope that you got a lot out of today. I'd like to hope that most, I'm sure not all, of what I was trying to share and explain made sense. I'd like to hope that you'll still take time, even though it's late, to share with everybody who was on the stage what came out of it. I hope that all the observers got a lot out of it. I'm very thankful for anybody who's willing to tolerate me babbling and philosophizing and doing all that. I'm really tired. As always, I appreciate everyone pooling together for the betterment of others. I really appreciate today even more the translators, and I forgot to specifically acknowledge you. So I acknowledge you. All of you, use what you've learned, use the thoughts that are developing, use the insights, act on them, and do great stuff. And I hope that today I at least delivered, and we'd always hope we exceeded your expectations. I'm tired, so thanks. You guys have a good evening. I'm done. Thank you.
Jay, thank you so much for your love and trust. with due all respect, I thank you so much. And once again, could you please give him a standing ovation? Thank you so much.